think that's the beauty of it too, is recovery is to be able to see the authentic self. And then when I'm recovered, that means I can now look at myself and build the best quality of life I can build.
And I'm glad you said it like that, because that we were talking about that earlier is, I have to give it up for internal family systems, that entire framework. It took, Mike Gallagher explaining to me what it was and just taking the sheet and just doing it only like he could, just give me the picture. And then I chased that rabbit and I'm sitting there going, oh my, and when something makes so much like intuitive sense to me that I cannot think about it another way.
Well, thanks for coming today, Zach.
My pleasure.
Yeah, man. And it'd be fun to definitely explore today your experience in the wine industry, and then your experience in recovery. Before we dive into the fun existential things, I
love that.
Yeah, right, dude. I'd love to, know where you grew up and, understand some of your hobbies as a kid and what even got you into wine. And
oh wow, yeah, okay,
yeah. So that'd be fun.
Yeah. So I grew up. I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm gonna be 48 this year. I grew up in Orange County, Southern California, Laguna Hills area. My parents were public school teachers, and so we grew up in a kind of an affluent area, but not with any affluency at all. But a lot of my friends were. There's, a lot of immediate family around. My mom's family, my dad's family. For the most part, I would say, like everybody would say, like a normal childhood. But if you really started breaking down some of the things that were that existed in my family, it turns out that what does normal really mean? So kind of fast forward, so I grew up. I have an older sister. She's about 6 years older than me, and grew up essentially playing sports. My dad was a football coach, baseball player, coach my whole life. Kind of grew up on every sporting field. My mom was an English teacher. Both my parents worked a lot, so I spent a lot of time when I was younger, especially during the school year, staying at neighbors' houses. When I got older, riding my bike to school. Not a whole lot of parental supervision going on. Definitely everybody get the hell out of the house while the parents are home. A lot of parties, family parties. A lot of my parents hosted every summer yearly coaches party. Lots of drinking, a lot of just debauchery. So just kind of a standard 80s kid growing up, I guess. I got dragged to play sports. I kind of thought every kid got dragged to play sports. So I remember very vividly getting signed up for T-ball, throwing a fit at it was a Shakey's Pizza. I don't know if you knew what Shakey's is, but just throwing a fit at the T-ball sign. I just didn't want to play. My dad was a big baseball guy, so I was going to play baseball. And, over time, that became a big part of my childhood identity was playing sports. So I played baseball, I played basketball. And when my mom finally relented, I got to finally play contact football. And my dad, being the coach that he is, he wanted me to be a quarterback because I was a pitcher in baseball, but he wouldn't let me play quarterback until I played the line. So my first years at football, my dad has me grunting it out, and fortunately, I was a big kid, but I wasn't big. I was tall. I was very skinny, and so over time, kind of get into this is all I do. I basically play sports, go to school, and just family stuff. That would kind of start to get really on shaky ground when I was about 11 years old. My mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And around the same time, there was this big mystery that I never really could solve when I was young. Only looking back on it now, I know it's not a mystery. We had two grandmothers that I saw all the time. I had my mom's stepmom, essentially, my grandma Helen, and my dad's mom, my grandma Betty. And then I would get presents from a third grandmother all the time, Grandma Bessie. And when I was a kid, I didn't know. I'm getting PJs there. I'm getting a present. Yeah. I don't know. And then I could never figure out that my parents had been married 20 years, or my parents had been married 18 years, and my sister was 20. And it came to find out there was some mystery about the parentage of my sister, largely because my parents were both married prior to their marriage, and my mom had my sister while she was still married to another guy. And again, this is like being like exposed to the family when I'm about 11ish, and my sister 17, like, you know, stuff like that, learning about all these things. And so this was just devastating. Just the whole thing just falling apart. My parents, their marriage is pretty much over. My mom gets diagnosed with cancer. My dad sticks around for a little while. She's going to end up battling cancer for the next 6 years, but my parents are going to split probably a year after that. My sister's in college at SDSU. I'm kind of left with my mom, my mom battling ovarian cancer, but my mom also was an alcoholic that drank till the day she died. Also, it just really deteriorated, like just her mental health well-being. It was just, I mean, couldn't only imagine what that's like, going through all of the things that she was going through. And what left me was being pulled back and forth. So I ended up leaving high school my sophomore year, leaving the high school I was at. So budding sports, you know, playing all the sports, big future, trying to at least play high school sports. I leave my sophomore year at the end of the year because of a huge blow up with my mom and her family. And my dad has to come, so I go essentially just go live with my dad, and who will then be my stepmom, who's still my stepmom 30 some odd years later now. And I lived with them for a little while. It's huge back and forth. I don't know if I'm coming back to my high school for my junior year. I'm supposed to go to another high school. It's just a really weird flux time. I end up choosing to go back to school because I couldn't so I basically had to choose which parent, go back, live with my mom, essentially until she will pass away in my junior year at home. And then just get immersed in this huge legal battle with my dad and my uncle just fighting over trust funds, and probably because I'm a minor when my mom passes away, and there's state teacher retirement money. There's stuff that's coming to me. There's a trust fund that my uncle, who my mom's brother, is a very powerful businessman, and it just turns into this just nasty fight. And I'm stuck in the middle, and I'm a teen. So the expectation is for me is I'm supposed to handle this like an adult. And I'm the youngest of all the first cousins. My sister then is the next youngest, and then there's just a bunch of older relatives. And the fighting just gets kind of nasty. It's over the property. So I think about a week after my mom passed away, I was at home. I had stayed home. There was really up in the air what was going to happen. We were in the house that I grew up in, which technically my dad and my mom still owned. I got a call from one of the teachers at the school while I was still at home. I was going to take the day off. I was kind of, this is a week after. And the teacher, who's a friend of the family, basically got me on the phone. It was like, you need to get, you can't just be at home. Like, give me this rally speech. Like, you got to get back to normalcy. You got to get back to school. Kind of just pushed me to come back to school. And I remember being really pissed and just being like, fuck you, I'm coming. Mm-hmm. And I went to school that day, and I came home for lunch with my best friend, my friend Kara, and we drive into my little cul-de-sac, and my mom's family is moving everything out of the house. And they basically had duped me to get out of the house because they knew I'd protest, and move some stuff around because my uncle didn't want my dad to take possession of the house. And I don't think my dad was going to do that, but it was basically a property thing. It had very little to do about my well-being or my sister's well-being. It was just this ongoing fight. This would start a kind of a back and forth fight going on for God knows how long. Actually, like probably another 15 years. My uncle would be the executor of my mom's trust, which wasn't a ton of money. But then they were continually trying to sue my dad through it. And I had a very blow-up discussion Didn't want to be any part of any suing. I wanted everything to stop. And so this was just this tumultuous time between me and family. So instead of like that's jumping ahead a little bit. And instead of going to college, which was what obviously two teachers wanted for their son, I'm done. I'm not, no more achieving for me. I'm not, and I pulled myself out of, I was never a great student because I would never do my homework. I would never, I would pass tests and stuff. I was like, let's put them in the gifted program. That meant I just didn't do my fucking homework. I had to stay in for recess all the time. I was just expected to behave because my parents were teachers and strict. And as soon as my mom died, I went in and I told the guidance counselor, take me out of all my honors classes. I don't want to be in any honors classes. I didn't want to go to college because I wasn't having I didn't like being in school. Mm-hmm. And then after my mom died, I didn't want to be anywhere near any of my family. So I had the easiest solution in my head was I'm going to join the military. So that was the easiest thing I could do. I barely graduated high school because I didn't go to a lot of the last year. And I did graduate. It was a record low GPA or some shit like that. But I left that summer. At the end of that summer, I left and joined the military. I was in the Army. So essentially, with no real coping at all for anything, I leave. I leave and go to the military. All that being said about that younger time, one of the things the biggest lesson I learned there was because of the way I grew up, because my mom and my mom especially had a real, like, you had to put on a really good, you showed up to everything, you put on a great face, mm-hmm. Problems weren't expressed. I mean, that's essentially my whole family's, like, you don't talk about other people's problems. That's not how it works. You show a good front, but everything else is behind the scenes. And I wasn't very good at that because I would just be pissed constantly, just angry. Our whole childhood had been just a foundation of bullshit, it's just like, come on, And so, and then just trying to, like, being expected to be an adult when you're not an adult, like, just why aren't you doing adult things? And feeling like, shit, I'm never amounting to anything. Like, unless I'm excelling constantly, then my worth is very little. And as much as my mom would express that she loved me, my dad, like, as a kid, I don't know that. I don't know any of that stuff. It's all linked to my performance and certain things. And the only place that I got any validation was on playing field. So I'm 13 years old or 11 years old or so. I'm almost 6 feet tall. I have Little League pictures with me and my dad as a coach, and it's me, and I'm like so much taller than everybody else, but I'm young. And so I'm also the youngest in my grade, so I'm behind a lot of people, just experience-wise. And I'm just constantly having to try to prove that I deserve to be there. And it got to the point where, especially when my mom had passed and my dad had split, that I fell out of love of sports. And that kind of culminated with the day my mom passed. I was at school and I was supposed to pitch that day. And I got pulled out of class, like the second class. They told me what happened. And I kind of knew because I left. And I'd left for school that day and she was on hospice. And you can just see she didn't look well. Trouble breathing. And so I wasn't terrible. I wasn't surprised. It was really, but they were like, you don't have to play today. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm going to play. Because I'm supposed to pitch. And that was my thing. And I was like, I'm going to play. Like, you can't stop me. I'm going to go play. Because honestly, looking back on it, I didn't want to be where I was. I didn't want to be at the home. I want to be at the house with a bunch of people. And I would look back and reflect on that moment because I did. I went out and pitched, and I had a great game playing with my friends. And I will tell people, and I still tell it today, this is the only place that I felt in control. The only place where I wasn't completely out of control. I was in charge. I had the ball. Like, I was in control. And that's why I had to do it. It wasn't because I was so resilient or tough or like this badass or anything like that. I was just like, this is the only escape that I have. Give me the ball. Let me go do this. Because that's how I escaped my entire childhood of, you're not good enough. You're not adequate. Well, if I get on the fucking mound and I play in this this high school game where I have success, I feel like me. Like I feel like I can handle shit. And so that was something that was a big turning point. I would fall out of love of sports shortly after, because of the absence of my mom. I would still remain at this school, do all these things, and the politics of high school sports. I started like becoming a behavioral problem because I was just struggling and resisting. I sided with my dad in certain things, so people that knew my parents. I kind of got punished. I got punished for being friends with guys that had gotten in trouble for things. I get in trouble for being at a party where a bunch of us basketball players were drinking. I admitted to drinking. And some of us did, and then it was a big scandal. It was this whole thing, but then it just kind of marred my ability to continue to play sports at the school, without like kind of being just kind of cast aside. And as a 16, 17-year-old kid, that was just unbearable. Like that was my identity, and I was dropping it. I was moving on. And I was getting kind of the vibe written off by adults that I was just this troubled, just drug addict kid, which I did smoke a lot of weed. Not a ton. I wasn't a great weed smoker. I did drink. I would say no more than a lot of the people that I went to school with, especially successful ones. I was put into drug counseling when I was in high school. They just put me in it after my mom died, which I thought was also funny because there was like 6 kids in there, and it was just like this really random assortment with this guy that was kind of a weird counselor. I'm like, how did I get here? I didn't know what this was about. It was kind of told me, oh, this to help you cope with your mom's passing, and it turns out it's a drug counseling group. I'm like, looking back on it, was kind of a weird move. Like, oh, we know your mom just passed, so let's put you in a drug counseling group, which actually turned out to be a really fun group because the kids I met were kids I didn't normally hang out with, and we got weed from each other, and it turned out to be a really good thing, at least in my eyes. But I could go on forever about all that. But then essentially what it did was I ended up just making it. This would be a series of decisions in survival, is the best way I can put it, and just me trying to do the best that I could, and fight against every turn like this. You're not doing everything. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You have to do it this way. And I would buck against a lot of stuff. Like it was in school, it's the same thing. They would say, oh, you're not doing your homework. And I said, but I passed a test. So I'm obviously learning. Like, so I'm failing this class because I'm not turning in the points. I get that, but you're treating me like I'm dumb and I'm passing your test. And so I would just learn how, okay, fine, this is what you want. I'll give you the bare minimum. But you're not really teaching me anything because your emphasis on me doing these little trivial things is, and I'm a kid. I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. And you can't show me like the benefit of me doing this. So I'm just, and plus I have no way of like actually being able to cope with everything else that's going on in life. So school's fucking out. I'm done. Yeah. And I'm getting and you probably hear this, I'm getting the wasted potential. Like, oh, you should be getting A's. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not. So apparently I'm a piece of shit, right? Kind of that kind of mentality, like the disappointment every time I'm not rising to my potential. So when I go into the military and I leave and I go to this stuff, I'm still very close with my dad. And this is just a brand new fucking adventure, right? Just get out there and do these things. And the military, I didn't find it difficult. It was something because I'm coachable. That was like the one thing I always tell people. I was like, when you grow up with your mama's teacher and your dad's a coach and a teacher, you learn to take direction without bitching really well, because you can push back a little bit here and there at home. But I've said this to this day. I never met a drill sergeant that was scarier than my fucking dad. Like when I didn't do something correct, or the toughness and rigor that my mom would like grade any letter that I wrote somebody, like, and to that passion for like, hey, you're going to do everything correctly. And so when I would get this, you go into these high stress situations where people are trying to get you to pay attention to detail or get you to listen and follow directions. This isn't stressing me out. This is like, okay, we're good. Okay, I got this. Okay, this is fine. And so I get in the military and I'm like, this is all right. This is cool. Yeah. I have no workable life skills. I don't know how to fucking manage money. I don't know how to do anything. I'm there. I'm just literally, oh, hey, the military. Okay. This is how I get by. And I have the distinguishing honor of being in the military during no conflicts. We were technically, I guess we were in Bosnia. And so basic training comes and goes. I go to Korea for a year. And I mean, the only thing I learned in Korea was after about 3 months that if you could leave post whenever you wanted, sort of, if you always figured out how to make it back on post and not get, caught. And I had a great time in Korea. I figured out how to get down to Seoul. We were there, and a couple of my friends, and we met Canadian teachers. Like, it was just like, we just kind of had fun, drinking, partying. That's where I always tell people that's where my drinking went pro. Like that, I went from like a guy that drank a little bit to like, this is how we party. And I was 18. I turned 19 in Korea, and still no workable life skills. I'm getting a little bit of money from the military while I'm there. And like other guys on the post, the $200 from my one paycheck is immediately getting blown with the rations of beer and shit like that. So now this is how we're all coping with fucking being in the military, And, there were older guys that were like did it way worse, and they were always like they would be like, oh, I have to go to the Army's alcohol program. I remember seeing those guys like get in trouble for drinking too much and then have to go do that. And I'm like, I'm not nowhere near that. And in all reality, fast forward, if I was in their position at like dealing with the same things, I could have easily been that guy. But I wasn't. I was just a kid. And leaving Korea, I come back to the States, and I'm gonna I'll be in Kansas, Fort Riley. Starting to deal with my uncle, trying to get money out of them from this trust fund thing. And we're still having this huge fight. I could go in again. That's a whole nother episode. But basically, trying to kind of deal with getting this money. I'm supposed to go to school to get money from this trust. So I'm like, I still don't want to do that. This is like 1997. There's no, like, this school's not like it is now. Like, it would still require me to do a lot of like, just being there at school. And I'm like, I got to make money. I'm making a life kind of thing. And then I do something really stupid. And a lot of military guys do this. I was in Kansas, and I meet a girl that, out of all the girls I've been hanging out with, I meet a girl, and we decided to get married. And I was 20 at the time, and she was 19. She's a local girl from Kansas in a small town that actually my high school had more kids than her town had people.
Yeah.
Her name was Kelly. And we were really good, like, friends. We were good partiers, friends. I don't think either one of us knew how to cope with shit because we're kids. But we were smart enough and determined enough to do things. Like, they weren't the smartest fucking things, but we were just, and my dad tried to like say, well, you're not going to, like, she can't come out here and like, cause I was going to go from Kansas, go back to San Diego. My dad had moved to Rancho Bernardo. He's like trying to say she can't come. I'm like, well, that's not fucking happening. She's coming. And then we didn't tell anybody we were married, the whole thing. So 4 years we were married, and it's just a lesson in like, wow, like the shit you can build and break in 4 years, especially around the .com era. We moved up to the Bay Area, and after kind of a bunch of odd jobs, I end up in the bar business. So I start bartending. We're still married. She gets a great job as like an admin assistant for an up and coming like .com thing. So we're actually making quite a bit of money, because while I'm bartending in Palo Alto, which is just like this hub in that .com era, in that big money era where there's just money everywhere. And I learned from these guys at this bar called the Empire Tap Room, which is like this New York style pub that was definitely high end. That like, this is how you make money from someone like this. You got to be able to talk scotch. You got to be able to talk wine. These guys will eat it up, and they will drop money on you. They're like, this is like kind of lesson I'm learning, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah, okay, I get it. And I was learning from a guy. I'll never forget him. I love this dude. His name was Harpik, and I can't remember how to say his last name. Is Avatan. He was a Armenian guy, and just the nicest dude. And he was a gambler. He's a degenerate gambler. And he just had the great kind of just vibe. He looked like he was like everybody's barman. Everybody loved this dude. And he's the guy teaching me how to do this. He's teaching me how to, like, he's the first shift I'm on with him and another guy. We're all in, we're wearing ties, white shirts. We've got the big long aprons. But it's a bar. People are getting trashed. And like hey, rookie, you can make me this. And he's like, make me 4 kamikazes right now. I'm like, oh shit, I'm running around and I do it. And then I'm like, all right, they're here. And then he's like, all right, come over here. And he gets the other bartender and gets the bar back. And he's like, all right, boys, cheers. And like, so I'm making the drinks that we're drinking. And he's teaching me how to ring up stuff, like kind of like just be shady as hell, because, the owners are fucking these evil people. And they were a mess. I'm not going to lie. They were a mess, and they were really great people. But it just was this, like, it was like a free for all. And I fit right in. I could fucking shoot shit with people. I had these regulars that were tech guys, or tech guys now, and they would have meetings like pretty much at my bar. They were out of the office. I joked when they all resigned from their company. I was like, should I tender my resignation too? Because I've been to all these meetings. But it was just, the money was just everywhere. I was making all these tips. I don't even know how much money I made the first year. And me and Kelly, we were styling. Well, styling as much as we could be. We weren't very good and doing anything together and stuff like that. But we were able to live in the Bay Area at a time when it was really difficult. You couldn't even rent in the Bay Area. It was so packed and impacted. We both had brand new cars. We had good credit. We had all this stuff. And we were like, kind of like feeling like, look at us as adulting. We're killing it. Mm-hmm. And the reality was, she's fucking miserable. I'm miserable because she's miserable, and I don't know how to help her with stuff she's going through. She's homesick, blah blah blah. I go home at one point. A close friend of mine had my best friend Kara, who had mentioned, her younger brother completes suicide. Mm-hmm. So there's this big just stuff. It brings me back to so a lot of stuff starts going on. Ultimately, Kelly and I are going to split, and Kelly goes and returns to Kansas. And that was, I want to say, just around 2000, like around that 99, 2000. And so now I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And so this is, again, I don't have any workable skills. I don't really know what to do. I'm living with a couple friends, and I'm like, oh shit, I can't really do this up here. Tried to go to school a couple times, tried to get it just wasn't my thing. And so I was like, all right, I got to go home, I guess. Like, okay. Not thrilled about it. And I decided to live with, I didn't want to live with my dad, because my dad was still somebody that was like, you live here, you're going to follow rules. And I'm like, dude, I'm 22 at this point, 23. Like, I'm not really trying to do that. I don't want to have friction with my dad and Sue, my stepmom, because I'm living there and I don't really want to do it like that kind of thing. Like, I'm like, all right. So I make the dumbest fucking decision. I decided my sister's like, come live with me. My sister and I have a very weird relationship, and to this day, I don't speak to her. And there's a lot there, but probably shouldn't have done that. And I go down just to get down there, and I spend about a year in Temecula, where they're down and they own a home. I wanted, my niece had just been born, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna spend time with her. But I get into Temecula, and I'm newly divorced. I'm like, come down. I just immediately get a job at another brewery. And now I'm coming down here with all of this Bay Area wine knowledge. I'm a snob at this point, because all the guys that I was around, we're so close to the Bay Area, they're drinking high-end wines. Like, they're really in it. Mm-hmm. And I have a very strong working foundation knowledge of like fine scotches and stuff, because that's what I was selling. And I came down here and I was like, okay, I got these skills. I can do this. And the reality was that I had never had any real formal training in any kind of formal setting. I literally had been working in like basically a high-end dive bar. And so like I didn't fit into formal dining settings. And in Temecula, there wasn't one anyway. And so I kept trying to, and I ended up getting a job at a Temecula Brewing Company, which I didn't know when I got the job. I just wanted to get the job and it was no liquor. I was just going to be a beer tender, essentially. And I was like, whatever, I need a job, so I'll do it. And what I didn't know was I took this job and it was on the tail end of this brewery's life. The owner had already kind of chased out the chef and his brother, who was the brewer. It was going down, and like here I come in, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to be a bartender. And he finds out and I had started managing some of those bars in Palo Alto, so I have restaurant management experience, and I kind of just fall into like this guy just kind of uses me to kind of run the restaurant, and I willfully just jump right in because I have a purpose now. I'm here to try to help. Not him, but the staff that's there. And I'm just this, and I become this like kind of just, the joke was the younger guys that were working there thought I was giving them all this wisdom about like life because it was funny and sarcastic. And they were like, dude, they would just like, tell me what to do. You're like Yoda. And I'm like, dude, I spend 6 out of 7 days with a heavy buzz on. I'm not Yoda. Like all I'm doing is just fucking just like drinking to forget that I live here, essentially.
Yeah.
2001, I get a DUI there, first and only one first and only one that I actually got caught for. And it was like, fuck. And so I knew I couldn't stay up there. I get out, handle all that stuff. And then I come back down to San Diego. I decided to live with my parents again, which was a really bad idea. But I get a job. I'm working for one of the franchise, OG's franchise.
Yeah.
And great job. It's easy, man. It was a pizza place. I worked like maybe 38 hours a week at the most. Like it was not a difficult job. It was high stress. Like it was in the mall, so it was high stress during like November and December, and then it was just like chill, sports bar, whatever. This is where I'll meet my kid's mom. So when I start working there, she's a server, and like after a little while of me being there, her and I start to date, and she's a little bit younger. She's about 5 years younger than me. She comes from a very, very, very like kind of a religious, I would say like a Christian kind of conservative background. I don't want to say like super religious, but her mom was the youth pastor at a local church. Dad's a deacon at the church. Just phenomenal people. They're just really nice, genuine people, but very different to like me, like everything. And so it's like, okay, cool. And she grew up a little more like kind of isolated and bubbled than I did. And so it was like we connected. We were definitely great friends. But there was a little bit of a difference there. It was me having to shelve a lot of like just kind of general wildness about myself at that point, especially too because drinking had become such a big part of my identity. I was known for being somebody that was very knowledgeable about the bar and the wines and all these other things, and good under pressure. I mean, if the shit was going down or if we're in the weeds, I could handle it. That has, in retrospect, probably a lot to do with the old ADD and the fact that I was always under pressure and I was just good like that because of pressure created for myself. But I was also getting off on the high of like being good at it, sales, making money, getting that a direct, like, hey, this is where I shine. And it pretty much, I do something I say I never do again. I propose and we're going to get married. And we get married. And looking back on it, I was trying to do these things that I thought I was supposed to be doing. Because I thought I was supposed to marry. And if I showed everybody that I had a great job without going to school, because that was a big thing with my parents. You have to go to college or you're going to be nothing. And I was like, well, at one point I never went to college and I made more money than everybody in the family. So that was like a big, like, hey, I don't have to do it your way. And, but I got pushed there because I really enjoyed just being the restaurant manager and stuff. But when I married Danelle, who's my kid's mom, she was still in school, and the restaurant business hours were just really bad. And I took a job, and I wasn't getting paid a ton. And so it was like, oh, now we're going to be, I should get a better job. I go to take a job, a good pay bump to work for Claim Jumper. But Claim Jumper works their managers like crazy, like minimum 10 to 12 hour shift kind of stuff. And so I'm now gone a lot, and she gets pregnant. And now, it's just really tough. It's a really tough first year of marriage where we went from being like kids that were just kind of always able to do what we wanted, working in the restaurant business, to trying to start a life. And I didn't know how to do that. And she had a vision of what we were supposed to be doing, and we were just struggling. And she got pregnant, and I was like, oh God. So now in my head, I'm like, this is awesome. Shit, we're fucked. Because I can't figure out, I'm barely scraping us by with the money now. And now how are we going to do this one? And my job's not that great. And unfortunately, that first child, we had a amniocentesis test. And I'm glad we did it, because the baby was an anencephaly, which meant that the baby had formed without a brain. Whoa. And so the baby is non-viable. The only reason that the fetus was even alive was because it was still inside of her. And so this is super traumatic. This is devastating, her and myself. So I take that opportunity. And while I was working at OG's, I had made a relationship with one of my liquor salesmen. And he and I had remained in contact. And I hadn't been gone from there very long. And there was a sales position open on the team, which is a union sales position. They're hard to get. This was not something that usually came up. And I knew I couldn't stay at Claim Jumper, and I needed to do something. I needed more money to help with this, because she's not going to be able to work. There's a whole thing. And I interviewed. I thought I did pretty good. But I was like, the guy that I had interviewed with was this old, he's a throwback. He was like a cartoon character. He's just the most misogynistic, fucking crude liquor salesman. It felt like a dinosaur at the time, but kind of look back on it. He was, It was, it's shocking he didn't get fired before when he did, but, kind of, hey, bud, I'll call you. And I was like, all right. And I would call this, the guy that, Chris, the guy that had told me about the jobs on the team. I'm like, bro, did they fill the position? Because I haven't heard from dude. He's like, no, man, no. And he goes, I would just call him again. And so what I did was I called that guy every fucking morning and left a message on his voicemail. Beckman, this is Zach Alderson. Just want to know yay or nay on the job. Yes or no, man. That's all I want to, just checking in, just want to see if I can move on. I wasn't even trying to push him to hire me. I was just like, I want you to respond to me, dude.
Yeah.
And so I just fucking left him a message every morning. And he called me and told me, he goes, you know what, dude? You weren't the most qualified, but you left me a message every fucking day. And he's like, I got to hire a guy that persistent. And it was a really oh, yeah, that's right, dude. Okay, cool. It really reinforced this thing, but I was so desperate. That's all I was. This is not my personality. I was just so fucking desperate to make more money. And it was a huge pay bump. I get into the liquor business. So I'm a union sales guy for Southern Wine and Spirits, which is still, but at the time, definitely the largest distributor in the country. And liquor and wine rules in the state of California. We are a supplier state, 3-tier state. So supplier, distributor, consumer. Consumer in this world would be the stores or the restaurants and whatnot. So, and the sales force is unionized. And then, so it's a whole new world. And I get into it. And the first thing that I learn is that I'm the youngest member of this team. And since I'm the youngest, when everybody gets their lap, I apparently had just come onto the sales team. There's one guy that's just a little bit older than me, and we're peas in a pod. We're hanging out, and they had all just gotten laptops for the first time. They used to have these little what they called Telezon things. That's how they did orders. Now everybody's got their first sales laptop and getting familiar with it. I'm like, okay, well, computers are not really like I'm intuitive with a computer, so I'm okay with it. And quickly, I'm like the team IT guy. Like I have to go around and teach some of these guys how to delete their emails and stuff like that. And I'm on this sales team with these guys that have been doing this for 25 years, and they're dug in. And the guys that have the good territories are making lots of money. They're making, because they're getting paid on bottles, they're getting all these things. And it's like, wow. And not to mention their unions, so some of their benefits are just crazy good. And they're vested, and it's a whole thing. And it's like, and you're looking at them, and I'm like, this guy's 25 years, 15 years, 30 years, 10 years. They're not coming out of these territories. Like they've got this system on lock. And then I'm in this little, what they call a starter territory, which I'm totally stoked with because I'm making more money than I ever made as a restaurant manager. But immediately I'm starting to, in my head, I'm like, where am I going to make more money? Because my wife's not working. She's still going to school. She's now pregnant again. So pregnant with my son, Jake. And I'm the guy. I'm going to be the breadwinner. And so I started out making pretty decent money, but the moment that I'm already with in 6 months, I'm like, how am I making more money? And I learned real quickly that there's a quota system, and there's a lot to, there's a lot of hoopla. If you can get 100% on your quota, it's a competition. And immediately I just roll right into that. I was like, so it was perceived that this one guy on the team was really the best salesman and it was actually just something somebody said to me. Oh, Dan's the best salesman because he got a couple 100% last year on his quota sheet, which is really hard to do apparently. And I was like, oh, that's the mark? Okay, well, that's what I'm going to do. And so then it was by the end of my first year, by the end of that first year, my son was born February 1st. End of the month in the sales world is a big deal. So I'm in the fucking labor and delivery room, and in this January, like at the end of January, I'm in there. I'm closing the month while they're all with my boss. I'm trying to chase a fucking 100% while my wife's essentially in labor with my son, and I'm in the bathroom like trying to close these deals, and my sales manager's eating it up. He loves it. He's like, that's what I'm talking, like the hunger. Like I'm getting all of this praise for being this guy. And I didn't get 100% that month, but then I proceeded to get 100% the next 3 months in a row, 4 months in a row. And I started to get I was starting to get a lot of like the guy higher ups were noticing. I was starting to get a lot of attention, and there was an opportunity to move into management. And again, I wasn't thinking long term, so I was like, oh no, I can keep growing. And here I am with no college education, and I'm like rising in these things. And I took an opportunity to become what they call a key account specialist, which was just like the fledgling manager position. And now I'm no longer responsible for selling just to customers. I'm responsible for supporting the team selling to their customers. So now I need to be an expert on all of our products. I already kind of done that stuff with the sales stuff. But now I have to be because now I'm having more interaction with the suppliers. I'm having more interactions with the brands. And so now to do this well, I've got to step my shit up. And so I get into it. I'm like, okay, what do I need to know? What kind of things? Wine, what do I need to know? Where I'd go? And I got into it. I got way into it. It became something that was just passionate about. I loved learning about how everything was made, how Scotch and all that stuff, the whiskey, the lore behind it, like the stories from the makers and the brands. Like I would get it all. And then when I would go in, and if somebody would bring me in, one of the reps would bring me into an account, that's what I would do. I put on a show with it. If I was trying to push a brand, that was what I was doing. And then in management, as I would grow, I would become somebody that the managers wanted the suppliers to work with, because I made the distribution team look good to the supplier. And so I felt like this, hey, yeah, I'm the guy you call when you want if a big wig winemaker's coming in, I'm getting the work with. Like I'm the guy getting the phone call because they're like, you're going to kill it. Go kill it for us. And then they'll report back to the big dogs how good we're doing. And went straight. And this is the kind of stuff that happens. It just goes straight to your head. So in the meantime, my son's born at home. Everything's going kind of well, I guess, And we're just kind of gradually just existing. I'm not managing money for shit. I'm making a bunch of money, but like making just really poor decisions on managing money. I'm getting caught up in some of the darker, seedier sides of things with sales, which is so much of it, because to actually do a lot of the sales, there's straight up salesmen. And then there's, if you really want to battle for business in big places, when you're on the management side, there's going to be a lot of like questionable fucking business practices, and it requires floating around a lot of different money. And it was pretty much like the kind of just accepted way to do things. I couldn't do it. I didn't have the credit that some of the other guys had, like to run stuff on credit cards and then do like bill them back and make the things like and I also was really bad at organizing to like even collect all my receipts, because I was never good at organization. So I was just flying by the seat of my pants the whole time, stressed out of my gourd. Every month there's no reprieve. Sales, I won salesman, key account specialist of the year for Southern California. I got a trophy. I did this big old speech in front of like fucking 2,000 people. I was like, this was supposed to be the pinnacle of everything. And I felt like after even the award, I felt like nobody gave a shit. Like it was just like not enough. And then it was like, what have you been doing for me lately? It was like this, just like, oh shit. So it's just feeding this. I'm not good enough, even though I have all these fucking awards at home and all this other stuff, and I'm supposedly making a bunch of money. And I was miserable. I was just miserable. I was never home. And when I was home, I was such an asshole. And I was constantly drinking to even just like cope with being home or cope with being at work. And I was angry all the time. I would just lose my temper. I had never really I was so scared about being a parent because I really had no fucking idea what I was doing. And the only format that I had was a bad one. I love my dad and stuff like that. My dad, there's two things that can be true, right? This is what I learned in therapy. Two things can be true. I love my dad. I know he loved me. Early on, he was a fucking terrible, it was a hard fucking lesson to learn. That wasn't the best way to do things. And yet I didn't know anything else to do. So I struggled to adapt a style with my kids and being at home that was anything more than like authoritarian sometimes. And I would come home and be so fucking stressed. And I'm very laid back. Like I could allow chaos just to exist, and I'm okay with it. I'm not mad about it, but I know that's not everybody. And for my wife or their mom, that was very difficult. So where she would get worried about certain things and then be stressed out about it, it would cause me stress. And then I would get upset that she was stressing about it. And then it was just bad. This would be the first time that I went to go see a psychologist, because I was like, I'm having anger issues. I'm just really frustrated. We were, my second daughter is going to be born. I'm just like, I can't constantly be pissed. And I get evaluated and I get tested. This guy recommends me to go see somebody because he's like, I think you have some ADD issues. I was like, I'd never even thought about that. I'm like, all right, whatever. Okay, I'll go take these tests. And I ended up taking like an assessment, and they said you have ADD, and they gave me Adderall. And at the time I was like, okay, whatever. But I'm also drinking, and I'm also trying to do all this stuff. I had been taking painkillers occasionally, not supposed. I had hurt my back. It was one of those. I'm just kind of in this weird state of always drinking and then mixing some other drugs in there, and then being able to cope what I thought was way better. And so I do that, and the Adderall actually makes this huge difference. I'm actually just like really way plugged in, and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck? But I'm still drinking and I'm still doing all these things, but I'm like way more effective, and I'm better at home. I'm like, oh shit, this is it. And but I didn't go seek help with anything else after that. I was like, oh, this fixed it. I'm good to go. Yeah. And so I'm just running around with just essentially better at being in survival mode, which is not good, which just basically means I'm just more efficient at doing all the panicky things that I would do. I became very good at being like crazy, like under pressure for sales again and all this other stuff. And then it fell apart because one point I just was stopped going to fill the prescription. And I was just trying and struggling. And I started to, just all these underhanded, like shady things. I had switched from one company to the other. I got what I thought was totally screwed over. In the first year at this other company, I made a bunch of money with them, but I kept getting passed over for things. And I was then given information and it was told that the reason I was being passed over was not because of anything. And they even said it wasn't because of me. Because they were moving there's a lot of like favoritism and nepotism in the business. And I was just not the guy that the uppers were wanting to move around. They were going to put somebody else, and they put the guy that brought me over to the company gets promoted, and he's a rocket ship. The two people are a rocket ship. I'm supposed to be I'm supposed to take his place. And they bring in another guy who was failing at the other position he was in. And they move him out of the territory and they put him in charge of our team. And as soon as he gets on the team, I would tell you that I was like, I tried to help him. I did not. Like the moment he got there, I was so critical of his management style. He wasn't likable. He was very rigid with a lot of the salespeople, and he would lose his temper. And I didn't care for his leadership style. Like I did not help this guy. And then so I started being really like fuck this place, fuck these people. And I was miserable, just continuing to be more and more miserable. And to cope with that and cope with this in this position where I really felt lost and stuck. And now like I can't do anything, like I can't change jobs. The only reason we now have this house and all these other things with like I'm the only money. And I'm fucking losing it. I'm doing blow to try to like manage drinking. Like, I'm too drunk to drive. Which is a kind of standard thing for some salespeople to do is like, I'm too drunk to drive. But we go to all these wine tastings and all this stuff. And I'm like, and everybody knew you just a little marching powder to go home and you're awake enough to get home. And that was like a thing a lot of people did. And I was like, this is stupid. And then I was doing it all the time. And finally, the wife was like, she'd had it. I had folded once and went to a short stint in rehab and then tried to go back to work. I was actually in like outpatient rehab and still working in the liquor business. So I was showing up to like my outpatient meetings with like a trunk full of fucking booze and shit like that. Cause I'm doing wine tastings before I go. And just like, okay, yeah, I'm going to like kind of behave myself. I wasn't, I didn't even finish it. But that got everybody off my ass for a minute. And then it just started to get real bad. Like I couldn't balance anything. I was unable to get, like cover these invoices that I had built. It was just a mess. It was just an absolute mess. And I was falling apart and it was becoming obvious to everybody else. So I was getting talked to now. I had never been talked to by anybody professionally until now. And this was like, oh shit, I can't keep it together. And essentially this will be the end of my major booze career. But essentially it just gets to the point one time where I'm done and I get picked up from like I was in my car and I was talking to my wife and I was telling her everything was going on. And I hadn't slept in a lot of days or like a long time. And I had taken a bunch of Tylenol PM while I was talking to her on the phone. And I was telling her I'm like, oh, I'm so fucked up with Coke and all this stuff. And I was taking all this Tylenol PM and I fell asleep on the phone while I was talking to her. And she called my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law works in, at the time he worked at the psych hospital. And she's like, is he in danger? And he's like, well, he took a bunch of Tylenol and he's in danger. So I get woken up to the sheriff knocking on my door. So I get 5150 for that. Interestingly enough, they kept me for like a day. I meet the emergency room psychiatrist and he's asking if I intended to hurt myself. And I was honest with him about having thoughts and a plan and stuff like that. And he told me, he goes, you're not suicidal. And then they sent me home. And I ended up getting into, I was in inpatient for a few days, and then I was off work. I was on disability, and I was going to like really intensive outpatient. struggling because the only thing I know is booze. The only thing I know is wine. The only thing I know is still, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm fucking, like at this point, I think I was 38, maybe 39. Like, this is my life. I have no idea what to do. I'm not going to keep my marriage together. I don't know that at this time. I'm pretty much, I think I know that. And I'm trying to pull together jobs that don't make any sense because I don't know what to do. And it was just, that was the beginning of the end. And I started working for a copy sales company, copier, selling copiers. Great company. I actually had a really good first year of that, but it's not the same. It's not the same. I was just missing that aspect. And when my wife decided to leave and we split, I went back to the wine business because that was the only thing I knew. And that was such a bad idea because I went back to it. And the only thing that existed there for me at that time was going to be working as a broker and going in and doing like kind of the same kind of thing. But now I'm the little guy and I'm not making any money. And so I'm having just to scrape together a lot of stuff, but I'm also just trying to exist. And I end up being homeless. If you would have asked me then, I would have said I wasn't homeless, but I was essentially making enough money between doing like some restaurant side gigs, Lyft, Uber, this wine brokerage stuff. I would stay at a hotel when I had my kids because I would just say, oh, the place I was living wasn't good. So if I wanted to spend time with my kids, we would stay in a hotel. But I was living in my car. For like almost 2 years off and on. Just fucking trying to sling booze. And then the worst part was I was getting these broker gigs and I was getting all this eclectic fucking liquor to sell. So they were just giving me bottles of liquor. And I'm just like, they're in the back of my car. I'm drinking whatever I went from being I only drink this kind of whiskey to fucking drinking whatever the fuck I had. And I would just blow through all of it. And I was done. I couldn't get out of it. I didn't see any way out of it. There was nothing there. And at one point I was done. I was kind of helping my grandmother out because my dad needed help. That was like the only thing that I was doing that was even slightly redeemable. Everything else was just fucking pure survival. And I think I weighed like fucking 380 pounds. All I was doing was just drinking and eating fast food and sleeping. It was horrible. And I got so down, I was done. I took a handful of Xanax. I was drunk as hell. I put a plastic bag over my head and I was like, I'm done. And I fell asleep in the car. Essentially, I thought that was going to be it. Unfortunately, no. So at that time, I came to, the bag was off. It was hours and hours. I don't even remember how long it was. I couldn't find my phone. So I just kind of sat there in daze for a while. Eventually, what happens is I do find my phone. Apparently, I was missing. So some people were looking for me. Essentially, my dad I kind of get back to it as ironically right around my 41st birthday. I kind of come back to it after I realized everybody's finding me, and I'm panicked. So I don't even know what to do. So I get a hold of my kids who they've been home. I go to my son's baseball game up in Menifee. I'm just like I'm just like, oh, get up there. And my dad's there. My dad shows up, and that pretty much after that, he was like, let's go to dinner. And dinner was, I'm taking you to the hospital. And I spent 9 days in a behavioral health ward because I was suicidal still. And I was DT big time. So they just had me in the behavioral psych ward. I thought I was going to get to leave after a few days. And it was like 9 days later. I'm like, you guys going to let me go? Like I wasn't on the lock side, but I'm like starting to feel like, yo, what's going on? But then I realized I'm like, I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anything. My dad has at this point just said, just stay wherever they're going to send you. Just don't go anywhere. And God bless my kid's mom. I feel so like, I know she was super panicked, but she's also now, cause I'm like, no, I got to be out there for my kids. And she's like, I will bring them to you. We will call you every day. It doesn't matter where you are. Do not fucking leave. I'm like, and it's slowly but surely, I kind of was just like, all right, I'm not going to go anywhere. So 9 days there. And then it was like, and this is I'm a North County guy. So this is at Palomar. And they're like, the only place we are going to send you is a crisis house, which I didn't know what those were, down in downtown San Diego. That's the only place we can send you. I'm like, all right, whatever. send me in a cab down to this little crisis house. And if you've never been to a crisis house, it's pretty much like a way station for the totally fucked. It is just their stabilization houses to help people get stabilized so they can move into more secure things. This could be anybody from a homeless situation, substance abuse, mental health. It's so many different things. And it's one step down from hospitalization. So it's 24-hour kind of lockdown, staff there, you live in a house, and you're only going to be there for, at the most, probably like 14 days. And after 14 days, you're kind of, and I'm seeing people just like be there for a little bit and then just go back out to the street. The only thing I know is I don't want to be homeless. Again, I'm done. I don't know what else to do. I got nothing. And so I'm on the phone daily with a place called San Diego Freedom Ranch. I was calling them when I was in the hospital. Didn't know anything about it. I'm just calling them every fucking day. I don't have Medi-Cal. I'm trying to get Medi-Cal. And then I get to the crisis house, and within a few days, like staff, and like I'm in. I'm like, it's like the military. I found a way to exist. The staff likes me. The staff's kind of cool with me. They're kind of joking with me. And so like they're helping me. They're extending me. Like I don't have to really like. I'm not a problem, so nobody's trying to push on me all that much. And so I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is okay, but I'm still just struggling. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I don't want to go get fucked up, but then I'm also like, I cannot bear like this indecision, this like not knowing what I'm gonna be doing. I'm 41 fucking years old. Like, where do I go from here? And it's getting a little dicey. I'm getting down to like my last little bit of days. I don't have anywhere to go. And one of the counselors says, have you tried calling this place Pathfinders? I'm like, no, I haven't. I've been, selfishly looking for programs that were co-ed and stuff. I didn't want to go to like an all guys thing because I was just like, that's my mentality. I'm like, why do you I just want to hang out, there's girls too, whatever. Just looking for any kind of like, any way to feel different than I did. And then I make this phone call. I find out they have open applications every Tuesday. And so I was like, all right, I'm going up there. I go up there and I sit down in front of this guy, Jack, who would become my boss over time and is still a great mentor. I still work with him. He's interviewing me, and I'm just like, I'm ready to do my sales pitch about who I am and how I got here kind of thing. And he said something to me like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm fucked. Like, it was all I could say to him. I'm like, I'm fucked. And he was probably I'd never experienced this before. He was so fucking kind and compassionate. He was just like, it was so authentic and genuine. And I didn't have anything. My survival shit had gone. I was just like, I'm fucked, man. I don't know what to do. Like, I honestly have no moves here. And he's like, all right, well, I got a bed for you. And that was just like this huge weight lifted off me. And I was like, fuck, okay. And so fuck the Freedom Ranch. They hadn't said yes yet. So I go here. And this will be my first experience in the field that we're in, real experience. Because everything else up until this point is me being able to find like, oh, this counselor's not smarter than me. I'm done. This therapist is like telling me some bullshit. So I'm out. I don't believe anybody that I've come across is actually trying to help me, no matter what they tell me, because they're just telling me shit. Like, one person's telling me I'm so frustrated because I have trouble focusing on things that organization has always been a horrible thing for me. And this one therapist is telling me to write stuff down. And I was like, oh yeah. Cause I never fucking thought of that. Like, what the fuck? Like, come on, man. And so this kind of stuff was just taking me out of stuff. I wasn't willing to do any mindfulness stuff. The first counselor that tried to get me to do like a visualization thing, well, they're like, okay, just relax and close your eyes. I just stared at him. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, I was so resistant to try anything. And I got to this place, and there's a lot of AA there, heavy AA, but I just kind of, it's like the military to me. Or you're going to have this rigid setup. You're going to get up, you're going to do chores, and this shit is not hard for me. So I'm like, oh, dude, I get back in this routine and I exist immediately, like a good client. In fact, that's kind of my goal, to be the good client that nobody has to fucking worry about, so they won't pressure me for shit. And I'm sitting there, and I was like, still had this sales mentality, still had my Like if somebody wanted to talk to me, I was ready to throw my spiel around a little bit. And then I had this roommate. Well, he wasn't even my roommate at the time. There was a young guy there who would become my roommate. He's just a young Italian kid. Knew a lot about like wine and stuff, restaurants, just really just this amazing, like you hung out with this dude and he just made you feel like you were as cool and is the best thing ever. Like he was fucking like, dude, look at you. He was just really good at building people up. He was also conversely also really harsh with some people. And he was a kid that had heroin issues. He was a younger guy than me. And this motherfucker, so we had there's resident monitors, and he was the assistant resident monitor, and the other one was the house monitor was moving to the other house, and this motherfucker tells Jack, the program manager, he goes, he's going to be the assistant house monitor. He just basically says, I'm going to do it. Well, I tried it. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it because it means now I'm going to be I can be responsible for all these other guys. I don't want to do that. Well, Jack basically said I was doing it. He didn't ask me if I wanted to. And so I was like, so here I am. Now I'm involved. Now I'm involved in the program. Now there's pressure for me to get involved in AA. And I was kind of like reading the book, doing the stuff with these guys. And I'm like, okay, I'm having problems with some logic things that are popping up. And that's generally my nature. So I start kind of questioning things. And then I'm getting a lot of like, I'm realizing I'm not going to fucking argue with some of these people because they're so set in their ways. I don't really want to have this debate. I don't want to have this fight. I'm having trouble because I'm seeing a lot of just real rigid, just like telling people to go get done and you're not hurting enough and all this other shit. And I'm like, these guys are hurting, man. Like we're all fucking hurting. It's just a lot at the time. And I didn't want to get involved, but I did. I got pushed to it. And when I say pushed to it, it was like, my friend Alessandro, that like hanging out with this guy, you just kind of got wrapped up in what he was doing and he wanted you to do it with him and you wanted to go do it. And so I went through the steps. I found a guy, essentially went down, asked one guy that I generally had heard him talking to somebody else. I liked what he was doing. I said, hey man, take me through this. Like, can you run me through the steps? We'll read the book. We'll go do this thing. And like, so I started getting involved. That was not, it was like, okay, now I'm a part of this gig. And we did a lot of meetings there. You were always encouraged to host or to lead meetings. And then, and the way that Pathfinders worked just on the base is the only thing that we were really like told we had to do was take care of the other guy in the house. And I saw that from the moment I got in there from not only my friend Alessandro, but like even when I ran out of cigarettes, like the second day I was there and I was a big smoker, one guy just gave me cigarettes. I'm like, dude, I don't have any money. I don't even know when I get money, so I don't want to pay you back. And he's like, no, man, this circle of life, dude, just hook somebody else up. And it was just like kind of this thing that it was genuine. It didn't feel like they were told to do that, some of these guys. And they always, our motto there is welcome home. Like you say welcome home to people when they come in. And I started to really kind of feel that like this, oh shit, like, this isn't just some place I'm staying right now. This is actually my home. And the guys that are here, some of these guys that are here, like where we had nothing, we have something here with us. Not necessarily the AA thing, but the camaraderie of being in the Pathfinder program. That's how I looked at it and still look at it. The guys that were my counselor, the head of the program, I just the way that they were treating me and working with me gave me the space to figure out what the fuck I was going to do next. And the big thing was, here I am, a guy with a terrible drinking problem, not really good at doing anything but being in sales and shit like that. My big base of knowledge and experience comes from liquor and wine. That's how I earn money. That's how I do. This is my entire fucking identity. I don't even know who I am. I have no idea. And now I'm sitting in a place where like, you can never do that again. So I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. Like going back to school seemed terrifying because I'm like, I didn't really like going to school. I'm not a construction guy. Like I don't care about, I can do hard work. That's just not my thing. Like, I'm not going to be happy doing that. And so I was just kind of a little bit lost. So I was like, all right, man, I'm just going to kind of stay here and figure out what the next move is and just kind of see where it goes. And it just happened to be in a time where I was like, you know what, I might, and there was a lot of, and you probably know this, like, so when you go to rehabs and stuff like that, there's the rehab, the people that attend rehab are usually a bit of the employee pool. And so when people come through and there's a little bit of like experience, like I had office experience and stuff, people kind of, hey, did you ever think about doing this and this and this? And I didn't offer that I was into it at all to anybody until my now boss, Evan, who was my like case manager counselor, was like, do you have any idea what you want to do when you leave? And I had said, I was like, well, I'm going to go to San Diego City College. I'm going to go to their AODS program. And it was appealing to me because it was just a certificate situation. 1 year of classes, you get your certificate and you're on your way to get certified. Okay, cool. That's not 4 years of school. I'm good. All right, fuck it. And then I figured out I got a little bit of disability money. And so I was like, yeah. I told him, I said, yeah, I'm going to go to school to be a counselor. And at that time, they had not, none of those guys were going, they were doing like a satellite course thing to get their stuff. And so I would be the first one at Pathfinders. I'm like, I'm going to City College. And Jack started telling me after that, I was like, hey, I'll volunteer, I'll help after I graduated, or I would, do stuff. And he would give me little things to do, like, hey, go sit in the office and do your homework, but answer the phone for me. And so it was like these, like I'm getting involved a little bit. When it came time to leave there, I was supposed to go to a sober living. I moved into the sober living house that was literally right on our property and just was like, I'm going to stay here, go to school. And then I started volunteering. So all of a sudden my time was now just going to school and then volunteering and helping. And Jack would tell me, he's like, I got plans for you. And because the Medi-Cal switch had just happened, Pathfinders was going from the social model where there was not very many staff to we were going to be now this clinical model going forward where we were going to have to look at, there was more staff was going to be needed. Upgrades had to happen. And I had started in school. I had already started working. I was splitting time between our corporate office and working at the recovery home. And I was brought in as the first official intake coordinator. And that was in 2019. And one of the first things I did was we never did classes on Saturday and Sunday of anything. And we were supposed to. And so Jack was like, you get to come up with 2 classes Saturday and Sunday. So I was teaching, like, we still call it body, mind, and soul on Saturday. And I got into it, man. I got into it just like I got into wine. I was like, oh shit, now I'm at school, I'm learning stuff. And I'm also like, want there to be more than just what we were doing. I felt it was like we weren't doing enough. Like guys were coming in, like some guys were getting it, but not enough. And when I say getting it, I'm not talking about getting AA. I'm talking about like figuring out fucking something like, so they weren't coming back to these situations. And that wasn't even it. And early on, I was just pushing guys to get involved in the AA program because that's essentially what everybody else was doing. That's what all my bosses were doing. And that's still that way. They're still real heavy in that way, but we weren't really like, it didn't feel like it was a lot. And there will be some other things that would change my perspective over time. But as I progressed into it, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. Found a way to take the stuff about being a salesman that made my soul sick, the stuff where I had to do things just for numbers and money, to get passionate about like getting guys to see their life differently. And yeah, that was that big switch. So like, even when like we meet, like there was a point in time where I never would talk to anybody about wine or spirits because dude, I'm an alcoholic, this is my past. And, but then I'm like sitting there one day and I'm talking to somebody and she's a server and she's talking about how, she's like, we were at school together and she's talking about how she just doesn't get wine and she's got to take this wine test for her job. And I'm like, what don't you get? Like, so, and I haven't talked to anybody about wine. This is what I used to do, is to teach people about wine. I used to train staff and stuff. And I was sitting with her and I was like, what are you having problems with? And so I like just start helping her so she can describe and taste wine. So much so to the point where she's like, I need to can you walk me through this? And I sit with her several times with the wine. I'm not touching it. I'm not drinking it. I'm pouring it for her. We're talking about, I'm not doing anything. I'm not trying to drink. I'm not like lusting for it. I'm just teaching her about the wine, and helps her tremendously. And I'm sitting there going, oh, well, I don't have to abandon the things totally that I'm very passionate about. Yeah, I don't drink wine, but I still really, really, really love the art of making wine and the story that a lot of it goes behind. I still think that's fascinating. And that's where it kind of got to this point where we're here now. It's like getting through all of those things, like culminating with leaning into passion and figuring out what those things are. I was upset for a long time because I lost my passion for selling wine and spirits because of the industry of sales and the nature in which everything gets pushed. And I was so worried about doing that in this field because I'm like, when the big business gets in the way, I start to get really dejected. And so that was like kind of the thing, is finding this happy medium now in this place of like, okay, I know what we have to deal with. And I also know that I'm not just like the cog in a wheel anymore. There's not something where I'm going to do anything in this field now where I'm like, we're not doing the only thing that we can ever do right is just the best we can do for these guys. That's it. And as long as I'm not reacting or doing like just falling under pressure, not taking care of somebody because we think they don't want it or something to that effect, I haven't run into that problem in almost 6 years of just not the passion of like trying to figure out what's best and help in the most effective way. It's tough though, because there's a lot of shit that's not effective. And so like you and I were talking about, like it's like at the end of the day, like what are we treating here? And as somebody who spent a lot of time seeing and has an appreciation for alcohol in particular, how it's made and some of the history behind it, I think alcohol it can strip so much away from a person's sense of self, and I see it every day. Like I see, and I'm not talking about it at rehab. I see it just out everywhere. Just this kind of like disturbing, like just like this low hum vibration of people that think that they're really experiencing life. And I'm like, you've never been so diminished right now as you are when you're drunk. And I never used to think of shit like that. I used to miss like, oh, look at how fun that looks, and I'm like, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's almost like, this sucks. Like, it sucks that you feel like this is how you have to have fun. And I'm like, I know what that feels like because that's the only way I could have fun for so long. And so, yeah, man, that's kind of where the mission heads now. So that was kind of the abridged version too. So,
thanks for sharing, Zach.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for listening, man. That was,
it's so enjoyable to learn about you too, and to learn more and hear how you ended up as a counselor. And it's beautiful, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe it as beautiful. It's color. It's like really colored. Textured.
Chaos and pain and suffering.
Oh, it is what it is.
Can be beautiful too.
But it's I tell people a lot of times, it's like, do I wish, like, obviously there's regret. Like, I wish my kid's mom didn't have to grow through that with me. Mm-hmm. I had this discussion earlier this week. It's, I don't really like retrospect is a fickle thing, because I can sit here and tell you, oh yeah, I wish I had done blank, 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 but I could not at that time have made that fucking decision because I didn't have the wisdom that I have now from the bad experience. So me looking back and going, I wish I had done this differently, doesn't do any good.
Right. And
that was hard at first, because there was a lot of like, when I would talk to her and say like, I wish I should have, I should have. And she's awesome. Like, she's awesome. I had to tell her, I was like, I had this resentment for this expectation you held on me. And she never told me that expectation. It was something I had kind of just manufactured.
Yep.
And it has a lot to do with those deep-seated things about my shit from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And how I felt, just if I didn't get this, then there was no love there for me. If I wasn't successful, stuff like that. So finding those little, and then looking at the situation for what it was, I was not capable. I should never have owned a home. Like her dad loaned us money. I should have never owned a home because I could not manage financially anyway. I hated owning a home. I absolutely hated it. I did not like owning property. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. I never want to own property. It's not for me at all. I didn't like having to fucking deal with all the bullshit. I didn't like dealing with the neighbors. I didn't like dealing with the money. I didn't like any of it. I didn't feel good at home. It felt terrible to me. I was a shitty parent, largely because I have no idea what I was doing. And I was petrified to tell people, I don't know what I'm doing. I had to, because in my head, you should know what you're doing. And they expect you to know what you're doing. So I was fucking petrified. So I was just, and every moment that I messed up even just a little bit was just so much worse in my head. So much worse. And, being the typical male in this society, like, I'm not going to showcase that I don't know what I'm doing with my money. I'm not going to showcase that. I'm not going to showcase that when somebody says, wow, you're super successful, that I actually have never felt successful just because I had owned a home and I had a car and my wife didn't work and she just took care of the kids. I'm like, I barely hanging on with the inability to cope every day. Mm-hmm. Like, yo, that's not good. Yeah. And then at 41, having no actual not social skills, but ability to cope with any of those things. I always tell people, I said, I was a North County guy, so I had to have a car and I was a salesman. Car is life. Shit. When I was homeless, lived in cars. Mm-hmm. I always had to have a car. Well, when I went to the hospital that last time, no more car. And no real way to get one either. So this is my life now. I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, I am so fucked. Not only am I never going to get a job without a car. So this is my priorities when I'm going in, right? I'm like, I got to figure out how to get a car. I'm not trying to figure out how to get a job or workable skills or shit. I just need a car. And I'm sitting down there and I'm down and I get moved down to fucking downtown. And I'm like, how am I going to go? I just such a childlike fucking mentality of I don't know what to do. And I had to start taking the bus. And I was like, I love the bus. This is are you kidding me? I don't have to drive. I can get around and the buses are obviously better downtown, but not great. But still, I was like, whoa. So I got to the point where I didn't even want a car. In my first year of sobriety, I was like, dude, I'm loving taking the bus. Because I also discovered that it didn't matter if I drove a car or not. It didn't stop me from being able to be social, go on dates and shit like that. I was able to connect with people without having a car. I'm like, oh, so it's almost like learning these life lessons, these small things that some people take for granted. I really had to experience that and learn that, oh my God, I'm really not that fucked. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I didn't know that though. And I didn't know that was preference. I'm too good to take the bus. No, I'm not too good to take the bus. That was never the issue. It was just I didn't actually know what to do. Mm. And that made it oh, I'm not taking the bus. But I'm like, dude, as soon as I figured that shit out, shit got different. Shit got really, really different. And the same thing happened when I went to school. Because now I was petrified, man. I'm 41 years old, right? I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to junior college. I haven't been to school in God knows in 20 years. Do I really want to be there with a bunch of kids? Do I really want to be the old guy in class? I'm saying all this before I go. Right. I show up to the class and it's an AODS class. So half the class is my age or older. We're all the same. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck was I worried about? It was just this kind of breath of fresh air. Every step I took doing something new, whatever I had thought it was going to be wasn't even really close. Mm-hmm. And being oh. And then that was a big thing in recovery too, because this can happen when you're stuck in 12-step circles sometimes, is that becomes the only thing in recovery. So that's what you're surrounded by. You're surrounded by the same people. And at first there's comfort and solace there because it's people that are like you. But for me in particular, I need more than that. When I say I need more than that, I need more interaction with different kinds of people. I don't have a bunch of tons of really close friends. I have a lot of good friends that I see some of the a lot of the times, not all the time. And I love that now. And I didn't know that. I was always just trying to be and I'm not all that social. I know it's funny. Everybody says that. I'm like, because usually when I'm doing sales or I'm doing stuff like this, I'm on stage. That's part of my persona. But my persona, when I'm not, and I don't generally like small talk, hanging out with people that I don't know, that I had no interest in meeting. Like, these things are things that I used to like force myself to do. I used to drink through most of them. And now I'm more just kind of honest about like engagement. Like, oh, no, I don't. No, thank you. I don't have to go do that. And just, whoa. And that it's just this like kind of even being just real honest about like what I'm able to do instead of people pleasing or what I'm willing to do, which is another big one.
Yeah.
And, you know, how much, you know, especially dealing with the potential for transference with clients.
Yeah.
When does I like, especially walking into this field, like I don't save anybody, Gabe.
That's right.
I'm not in the saving lives business. Like the only thing that I can do for every guy that I help or try to help is just help provide space so they can save themselves. That's
right.
it. And I get really frustrated sometimes with peers when it's this, I have to take over their life. These guys, they need this right now. And it's like, I disagree wholeheartedly. Like I needed space to learn how to do stuff in my life. I don't want to be unable to do those things. And once I was given enough space and enough grace, I could make mistakes. I could come back from those because we're human. We can do that.
That's right.
I started to thrive. Like I make about a third less than I made as a salesman, and I'm 100% fucking happier. Right? Like,
Yeah.
yo, like that's a difference in the whole, and that's just like when it comes to now like helping people it's like I don't know how to run your life better than you do.
That's right.
I there's no way. I mean, I need help to run mine, right? So what am I doing trying to tell you? But what I do know is that if you're given enough space and grace, validation, somebody that's just generally curious about yourself, the potential for you to actually like become more authentic, you're going to be in a way different place. And you might find that if you're being more authentic, that you don't need to escape being you. And maybe then the substance doesn't matter. That's what I think happens. I mean, that's all I've ever seen now. It's the people why do we measure success in days? I don't get it.
That is a point of contention.
I just don't get. I mean, I know I do. I say it like that, but I asked somebody asked me my sponsor asked me at one point early on. He said, "You don't call me for inventory." He's like, "You're not calling me. I'm worried. You're not writing inventory." And I was like, "I got to be honest with you, dude. I thought the point was not to have any. Because if I'm writing inventory, that means I'm having these situations where I'm so fucking mad and angry that I don't see my part in it, and I need to read it to you so you can tell me what my part is so I can get peace with this and move forward and make an amends, right?" So this lesson that I learned is that when I have these moments where I have strife with somebody, that my intent is not to remain in strife with them. It is to review my own action in the whole thing, own where I came up short, and make peace with that with them. And then I don't think about it anymore. So why would I need to write it down? Like I thought that's what you guys were talking about. Like this is like, you don't have to do that, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of the mentality. So when people are like, oh, well, you know, that guy, he's probably all fucked up. He's still drinking. He's not coming around anymore. And I'm like, actually, I like follow him on Facebook. Like he's got a kid. He's with his kid. He's painting. He's doing all this stuff. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but I don't actually care. Because what I see looks like he's having he's way better than he was. And so why does it fucking matter if he's your definition of sober? Like, why is that even coming up? Why is that the only thing you see? You don't see it. You don't see a guy that was homeless at the end of his rock and rope with a job and a life that he's smiling and he's proud of and he's doing all these things. You didn't see that part. You just think he's fucking smoking weed. That's the only thing you saw. That's the problem with that. Because now what are we worried about? We're not worried about the man's quality of life. We're only worried about your definition of sobriety. Why are we doing this again? why are we actually helping people? Are we helping them so they can be our vision of what they're supposed to be, or they can be the best vision of themselves? I don't know. That's where I start to have a disconnect with some of it. And it sometimes puts me at odds with other people, but I try to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of it too, is recovery is to be able to see the authentic self. And then when I'm recovered, that means I can now look at myself and build the best quality of life I can build.
And I'm glad you said it like that, because that we were talking about that earlier is, I have to give it up for internal family systems, that entire framework. It took, Mike Gallagher explaining to me what it was, and just taking the sheet and just doing it only like he could, just give me the picture. And then I've chased that rabbit, and I'm sitting there going, oh my, and when something makes so much like intuitive sense to me that I cannot think about it another way, and that part of the authentic self. Well, the moment I started seeing that and seeing that myself, my wife's a therapist too, and she's big into that. So we have these like really dynamic discussions, and all of a sudden, this belief is now at odds with a lot of rhetoric in treatment. In treatment and recovery, and the way that we approach these situations in this country.
Yes.
And that's where I'm like, oh, okay, so now I have a problem. It's not because I'm just buying a line. I intuitively believe this about this entire situation. This is what I believe. This is the every time I research anything, it still comes back to these principles, these basic principles that No Bad Parts essentially lays out about how we are in our psyche. And I'm listening to people try to break people down and tell them to stop their critical thought, tell them to not trust anything about their instincts, and turn over all of their humanness as these defective parts of them, and saying this is the only way you're going to be able to be okay. And I think that is so reductive. And it doesn't take, you don't have to be, anybody can sit there and listen to that and see, how does that fucking inspire hope in anybody? Why would anybody want to get well to do that? Like, at all? Like, I have a shirt that I always wear at work. It's when it says question authority. And it's just, it's an artist that is like, and somebody said that at one point. They're like, oh, you guys are like in a position of authority and you have a shirt on that says a question authority. And I said, you will find every time that I work with you, every class that I teach, the only thing that I really want to see happen is I want you to argue with me. And they all kind of laugh, and I'm like, no. And it's like, and I asked him, I said, does anybody know why I want you to argue? And one guy said at one point, he goes, because we're thinking. And I said, that's exactly right. You don't have to agree with me, but defend yourself. Defend your point of view. That's all I want you to do, because I want you to use your fucking critical thought process. Will you agree with me? I don't know. But you won't be just mindlessly taking in things and assuming, and because when they don't resonate with you, you don't do them anyway. When you regurgitate recovery lingo and you think that I'm going to fake it until I make it, that's not a thing. That doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's heard you're going to lie essentially until you just finally give up and believe whatever bullshit it is. But humans don't do that. And why would you abandon your survival instincts? Like, why would you do that? That doesn't make sense. That every situation that you're in, your instincts aren't broken. They might be a little hypersensitive, but they're not broken.
Right.
You're in danger. Your body doesn't like it. Like, it's an automatic thing, man.
Yeah, it's communicating.
It's communicating. So why not figure out what it's communicating to you instead of trying to turn off the check engine light?
That's right.
Which is what we do when we use, is we turn off the check engine light instead of fixing the car. And in a lot of ways, that's what we're trying to teach them to do in basic treatment. We're not telling them, I mean, some of us always do. Like, I think with the therapists that I've worked with, a lot of them, especially yourself and then Mike and Janie, like going at like, hey, you're never going to really be able to get away from this substance thing until you address these underlying things here. But for the most part, the message that's being given while you're doing that, the message is completely opposite to all the support groups we send them to. So you have people coming into these treatment centers trying to get underlying, hey, let's get down to the stuff that's getting you to pick the drinks up and the drugs up. And then we have a whole nother message that's being sent and pushed by the same facility that tells you the exact fucking opposite. And we wonder why everybody has trouble. Like, I don't know if you ever thought about this. Like, so at Shoreline, so client comes in. So first off, the clients, I always said, one of the biggest struggles they'll ever have is the ones that didn't live in California. We're going back to the exact same situation with nothing new except they've been gone. Mm-hmm. But then sit in there and get some of the best therapy that I think you could possibly ask for with some of the most amazing therapists that actually really care. Get this just like great clinical perspective from Mike, Kate, and this like all this stuff, and then mandatory attendance when they go back to 12-step and have 12-step rhetoric, and you would hear it in the groups. You would say something clinical about something, and then somebody would spiritually bypass it in the group and swear by that. And well, I think there's value for people that it works for. I also think, especially with new people, when this is happening, it's causing more harm than good, which is hard. Which is hard to have that discussion.
It's very difficult.
You know, what do? We have two things that are supposed to be working on the same side, working directly against each other.
Yeah, at times.
At times, I agree.
Yeah. It's interesting, like being a therapist who has clients who work the 12 steps, and then how do I bring in data, and how do I bring in my own experience, and how do I bring in like evidence-based practices and other modalities, which I think are very useful. And how do I tie them all together and blend it like a piece of art? Like, I like the colors over there and over there and over there. And yes, because there's difficulty with certain things in 12 steps for me, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said it like that, because that's one of the tough challenges.
Yeah.
I would, if I just came out and immediately shit all over 12-step, I would lose a lot of guys right off the bat because they're already immersed into it.
That's right.
And also, I don't care if they do it, if that's what they do. I care if it's going to drive you out. I care if it's something that's going to cause you way more harm. So the challenge is, and this is a challenge I sit with every day, because the place where I work is still steeped with that tradition. And there's still a real big push, even with the as progressive as we are, for that to be the end all be all solution.
Right.
No matter what we try to do. And so then it becomes this thing. Well, how much do you stand in opposition before it looks like it's just and again, I have to go back to, what is the point of me working with this guy? So I view it as this. The point of me working with anybody is to help them be able to open perspective enough so they're not continually making singular judgments like they're in survival mode. So when guys come in, and I still have my big book. I go up and down the big book. I go through the literature, left, right, sideways, the whole works. So I need to be versed in these things, not so I can discredit them, but I can also help open hey, let's do perspective stuff here.
Yeah.
So when and I'm not challenging your spirituality, has nothing to do with it for me. Like it's great as a part of recovery for your life. And I know that's a human need, but we're not talking about that right now. I'm not challenging your belief. What I want you to do is, when you start to showcase struggle with these parts that come up, let's talk about why those things don't need to be so rigid. Why the rigidity is not something that needs to exist. The black and whiteness of the whole thing doesn't need to exist.
Yes. And I love those points too in treatment, because that now gives me a doorway. Why is that rigidity causing them pain and suffering? That gives me the doorway.
Yeah.
Was your father rigid?
Yeah.
Was your mom rigid?
Yeah.
Was it rigid in church or where? So that doorway shows me immediately, like, oh, why doesn't that speak to you?
And where is this coming from? That's when we get down to the beliefs part.
Right.
And core beliefs.
Yes.
And that's what kind of started a lot of the stuff where it was challenging a lot of just general belief, because again, and this is just because of the way it is, the belief that someone has to be in so much pain and they need to be stripped of all like their will, so to speak, sense of self because it's painted as a bad thing. And we need to strip all of that away so you're not resistant. And so we're going to use things like we're going to say, well, you just don't want to get well, or you just want to keep using. That's why you're not listening to me. You're not serious. You need to go get done. You're not in enough pain, blah, 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 blah. And then we tag you with the permanent label of defective.
Oppositional defiant.
Oh, as soon as you tell somebody, you tell me I'm defective, motherfucker, I'm done with you. Like, you want to see defective? I'm not listening.
Right.
That's it's psychological. You tell me to do one thing, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. The case of the fuck it's real quick.
Oh yeah. Well, because it's the same thing. Everybody, like a lot of guys get that shit.
Yeah.
Bro, we're failure to adapt at life that as we've been experiencing it. So why do we think just a harder, more rigid version of the same bullshit is going to just change people? Mm-hmm. Sure. Some people do thrive in that situation. And I read a quote talking about, it was actually from the Sober Truth. The guy was that writes like a bunch of like his, it's a doctor that wrote like a counter to the whole AA thing. Like he's bringing up stuff, but he wrote one of the chapters is why is it effective? And while he's not giving it a favorable tone, but he's saying why it's the people it's effective for. Usually people that have have this religious like kind of base, this willingness to believe in that system, that sense of that system, and the ability to kind of follow into that kind of like dogmatic structure, and they have a tendency to thrive in that kind of community. And there are people that are like that. That is very true. They're just not the majority of people.
Yeah, and that's when those individuals where 12 steps doesn't work for them, that's opens the doorway for me specifically to ruptured intimacy, wounds from childhood. And then what is grace? So teaching the tools of, okay, what's self-compassion? And teaching, well, how do I learn to love myself, flaws and all? How do I learn to forgive myself? And the willingness to receive forgiveness. Once I am willing to forgive myself, then I can receive grace.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was, I go right at that. And the reason I go right at that is because why is it that you don't think you deserve any of these things? So let's go into that because it's all those little things, those ruptures you're talking about and all those things. And I asked these guys, like, one of my favorite things to do, and it starts with the fucking word defect. And it has this, if you run down the list of character defects, which we call these things, and we're talking about human friggin' emotion. We're not talking about fucking these individualized evil beings like this poison. We're talking about the range of human emotion, but we're not talking about it in the scale that it exists on. We're talking about it as polar opposites, these just extreme versions of things. Because I always say that like pride is one that comes up a lot, especially around men. There's like pride is one of your character defects. And I will ask people, I said, is pride always bad?
That's right.
And they're like, no. And I said, yeah, no, man, I'm proud of my kids.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of my kids, and that's not bad. My pride becomes an issue when my pride starts to infringe on you. And I start to use my pride as a defense against weaknesses and stuff, and that now it's a problem. But the answer isn't complete and utter humility because nobody's a pious priest every day long, and stuff like that. But we exist in the middle because that's what most people do. They're back and forth every day. And when you teach yourself, you teach people that you are broken and defective, that you will always fall short. And then you tell them, but the goal is perfection, even though we're not saying the goal is perfection, but you will always fall short. You create a sense of just constant, like if I slip once, I'm a failure.
Yes.
And I will stumble all the way down. I can't get back up. I am just reaffirming the belief that I am no good at this. I am not worthy of love because I am bad. And that's where I start. And when you say that they open the door for grace and stuff like that, is I would say that most people can't accept grace because they are fundamentally taught from a very young age that they are these things, the feelings that arise, your emotional responses, they are of a sinful nature.
Yes.
And when I say you deserve to live free of having to come to places like rehab, and you deserve it, and I don't give a shit what you've done. You deserve not to be feeling that way. And these guys cannot take it. They just can't. I don't believe you.
Right.
And that's true. They don't believe me.
Right.
And I say it to them every day. And I said, I'm going to say it to you every day. And I'm going to challenge this belief that you have that you are so fucking bad. And I have to do it with guys that are talking. Like I had a guys talking about, I said, when you're talking about their mom and all this stuff, and they feel so bad for the what they put their mother through. And I said, when did you put your mother through all this stuff? Like, what are we talking about here? And so we get into the whole story about them being kids and being like just all over the place and all this other stuff. And then I said, it's interesting that you say that to me. So did you ever feel at a time when you were 8, 9, 10 years old that your mother's emotional responses and your mother's state of happiness and being was completely your fucking responsibility? Well, yeah, because I was the reason she was mad. No, you weren't. You were not the reason that her life was difficult. She's an adult. How are you responsible for what you didn't ask for this? You are trying to learn. How are you bearing the responsibility? Why are you carrying it now? Why are you carrying that responsibility? Carrying that shame? Because that's where it gets to.
Right.
Because we ain't even talking about just belief now. We're getting to just shame and how it just drives this. When you're there, that's where everybody that's ever helped you, you've let them down. When you were a child, you let your mother down. You let your dad down. And it's like, what?
Yes.
When did we start making sure an 8-year-old, like they're held responsible for their behavior at 8 years old for an adult's fucking ability to cope with life?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? I'm so confused by that.
Yeah. And a lot of that happens when I notice clients become parentified at a young age and they're trying to keep parents happy because they don't want them to shout, to argue, to call names or belittle them. And the thing I notice in recovery and in general in being well is that I treat shame and guilt as actually cognitive distortions. Those aren't feelings. Those are thoughts. And beneath shame is what? Sadness, anger, loneliness, resentments, judgments.
I've seen you talk about that, yeah.
Yeah. And so when someone has that level of shame or guilt, they're using that as a shield for forgiveness and for grace and for love. And so my first job is to dismantle shame and dismantle guilt because those aren't real. Because why? Because it's a logical impossibility to be perfect. And if I can't be perfect, why am I beating myself up for what? Being human? And it's such a good point. The defects. I'm not a defect. There's nothing defected about me. I'm a human being.
I'm perfectly fucking human.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fucking human. I'm going to hurt people. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
That's in my DNA. That's in my software.
Yeah.
Like
that's how we learn, man.
There's no defect. That's right.
That's how we learn.
That's right. That's how we learn.
That's to the level like the clients that when we were working together, we were working with at a different, I mean, somewhat similar, but different level than the guys that I come across because obviously private insurance when you and I were working together, and state funded where guys are coming pretty much off the street or really just like the norm is like the worst kind of upbringing ever, and having to have discussions with some of these guys about like some of the stuff that they say. And just realizing, like, when they're telling these stories, and this is what that's really thinking. And unfortunately, this is what's also being perpetuated when, like, own your behavior comes up. And I get really, really like I don't give a lot of leeway when people start like saying, like, the reason, like, I had one guy tell me, he was telling me a story about being picked up when he was younger in like a gang sweep. And, this is back in the day, paddy wagons and stuff. And he was, I think he said he was 11 or 12. And it was just back in the day when they would do that and they would put him into like cells and then eventually. And he said, I was just so fucking angry. And I spit at the desk sergeant. And, they basically handcuffed him, he said, and they just beat him with nightsticks. And he's like, I get it. I shouldn't have spit. And I stopped him. And I said, look at me. Like, in no world ever does an 11-year-old get handcuffed and beat for any fucking reason. I'm sorry. So what happened to you there, you had no fucking part in. Like, I don't care that you spit at the desk sergeant. That is not something that you need to own because that's what happened to you. What happened to you was fucking wrong and abusive, and you had nothing to do with that. And people would be like, well, you got it right. And I'm like, there's no way you can convince me that an 11-year-old deserves what just happened. Same thing would go with like people saying like, I did this when I was a kid. And I was like, dude, you're a kid. Let's just take how the brain develops. Let's get into science. At what point do you stop looking at your younger self and judging your younger self with your adult wisdom? At what point do you look at your 9-year-old self and go, what would you expect a fucking 9-year-old to do in the situation that you were in? What would you actually expect? If you want to break down shame and guilt, start asking people that question. You're not you right now. I want you to think like a 9-year-old and tell me what you would have done. And most people will sit there and go, oh, and I said, well, I'll paint the picture differently then. What would you tell your 9-year-old son to do in a situation like that? Well, I don't know. Like, what could your 9-year-old son do in that situation? Let's be honest. Because that's how you're judging your previous actions. That's how shame is being built for you. Yeah. You are treating your child self like it should have been an adult, and you didn't have the tools, not because you didn't learn them, not because you were slow, because that's how fucking biology works.
Yes. And the root of the suffering, I notice, is in the judgment. Because once I judge something, I will suffer. And it doesn't matter, even if I want to judge things positively, that's a trap. Because the idea is life isn't good or bad, it's life.
Yeah.
So if I judge myself, I will suffer. If I compare myself to my past self or to my future self or to you or to anybody else, I will suffer.
Yeah. So, but that's, we all know. We're doing reflection. Now we're doing the after action review of my whole life here.
Yeah.
Every person I'm coming across is, let's review how we did, right? And so automatically judgment's coming.
That's right.
And so even if you or I are doing it in a positive light, like, hey, I want you to look back on this and let's look at an honest, fair assessment of what you could have done. I will usually tell people I'm not doing it, so you will sit here and go like, oh, okay, I see what you mean, but I still should have zigged when I zagged. What I want you to do is actually what you were just talking about. I want you to cut yourself some fucking slack.
Right. Because
at the end of the day, dude, you like some of these guys are like, and it's the same thing. It's the argument about like I was, anybody that was assaulted or abused or whatever it was, and the guilt and the shame that comes with that. It's like the shame is built not because that's just what happens to people. The shame is built because the rest of us try to help them get past it by just owning behavior. And that gets lost when it gets down to like why it happened. Owning your behavior is not own that behavior that caused you to be in that situation. That's never should be discussed. If I'm talking about owning behavior, I'm talking about, hey, look, the way I treat people now needs to be addressed. And if I'm inadvertently hurting people because I'm still resolving stuff from the past, I'm accountable for that. Like, I don't get a pass on that one. This is in the now moment. I need to be cognizant of that. If I'm not, because I'm still working on some things, then it's okay. That's part of the gig. But this is what I'm talking about when I talk about owning my behavior. Owning my behavior in the past for certain situations might help me get past it, but forgiveness actually needs to come from the fact that I need to only just forgive my fucking self. Because that, at the end of the day, is I need to stop. And I used to say it. I need to stop being upset that I did not handle my mom's death better. I need to and to be able to forgive what was going along, like the anger I had towards my family and all those things, the anger towards my dad, towards my uncle, to everything. And thinking about it, like, my uncle lost his baby sister. My dad's still fighting for like me and fighting against these people that are fighting against him. There was a lot of other things that were going on besides me in this situation. But then when you're 16 and 17 years old, I don't see what you're worried about. I don't see your pain because I'm also a kid. And you're not doing a whole lot to share that with me or try to connect with me and say, yeah, you're probably going through some shit. I'm going through some shit too. Like, would I have been able to understand? I don't know. I was in a lot of pain. Yeah. But at 17 years old, I didn't have the faculties to do that. To be like, hey, I understand you lost your sister, uncle. Like, I didn't have that. Yeah. And then when somebody tried to say, hey, you should forgive because they were just doing the best that they could. And I said, that's interesting that you say that. I know they were doing the best that they could. It wasn't good enough. And I'm not mad at them for that. I'm mad that they think I should forgive them. without acknowledging any of what they did. Or even saying something to me like, hey, we should have never put that kind of experience on somebody who couldn't handle it. We didn't take into account what you were going through. Just like I wasn't taking into account what they were going through, but who is responsible at that point? Shouldn't the person, the adult? Like, I'm not absolving what I did. I was a punk ass kid, and I knew how to I knew how to fucking take shit back. I knew how to try to grab power where I could because I didn't have any. I will never say that my behavior was awesome, but I'm also not going to pretend like I didn't react the only way I knew how to, and that I just chose to be difficult or I chose to do things wrong. I did what I thought I did the only thing I thought I could do. I didn't know any other way because nobody would know. I hadn't learned that.
Right.
I had been around adults that were not managing their life very well.
That's right.
And seeing examples of adults that were petty and fighting and a lot of do as I say, not as I do kind of shit. And this is what formulated a lot of how I started like parenting my kids and like how I would even lead people in the liquor business. Like, don't fucking question me, man. Let's do it. What? Like, oh my God. I even say it right now. I kind of cringe. Like, oh my God, what a piece of shit. Like, why would I do that? But that was, so when I'm talking to guys, I'm thinking about all of this stuff that I, like, oh my God, like we almost pile onto these buried deep wounds of understanding these beliefs that are at the core of why we judge and the core of what builds the shame. I love what you said about like, I'm trying to dismantle shame and guilt, but I believe the only way you can do that is you have to get down to the fundamental belief of what they actually believe that's filling that.
Yes.
And for a lot of people, it is that like, I have to go back to the, like a family thing. There is a belief for a lot of people that you have to have repair with family. Simply for the reason that they're family. That's your sister. That's your mother.
Yeah.
That's your dad. I am of the fundamental belief that if someone makes your life exponentially harder and makes almost no effort to be better at that, then you don't have to be in their life.
Agreed.
And coming to the conclusion of like, I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you my peace of mind and my sanity. I don't owe you the chance to continually be toxic in my life, and I just have to learn how to deal with you differently. I'm an adult, and I can choose who I interact with.
Yes.
And that I choose not to interact with people that have not afforded me the same respect that I'm willing to afford them.
Agreed.
Across the board. So you have no access to me unless I give it to you.
That's right.
And no one, you do not have access to me just based on a title or principle.
Yes.
And that was hard for me because I also learned that I was supposed to, every person older was just better. And so I tell guys all the time, especially like in any like 12-step, people with time are just people with time. To me, they don't earn any respect without me knowing them other than they're just a person. I will not afford you respect unless you are a respectful person to me. I don't give a shit how many years you have. I'm not in reverence of your years. I'm in reverence of the quality of human being that you are. And that is how I will interact with you. I will not tolerate like you treating me like shit or treating somebody else I know like shit just because of the position you think you hold. I would say that to any leader. Just because you're in charge of somebody doesn't give you the, like, you have to be able to learn and go, learn from your employees, learn from the people below you. If you are so rigid, it's like, hey, I've earned this spot, you have to listen to me. You're not a leader.
That's right. And
that's that kind of thing of like, how do I choose to be? Well, I choose to be hopefully a person that I would have liked to have been led by. Do I want to see my guys like get the best out of whatever they're doing? Absolutely. I want them to do the work. I want them to get in there and enjoy it. If they don't enjoy it, that's okay. But I don't want you to sit there and think that we're not giving you an opportunity. I'm not taking the ball out of your hands. I want you to have the ball.
That's right.
And not only do I want you to have the ball, man, eventually I want you to teach the next guy the best way to hold the ball.
Wow.
And if you have something better than what we're doing, by all means, please speak up.
Yeah.
I want to hear it. I want to hear a fresh perspective. I need to, because that's the only way I learn.
Yeah.
I don't learn from myself if I'm the only person that I think that's right. Like, that's kind of the jokes. Like, people believe 100% of what they know. Well, that's true. And it's kind of the dumbest thing to say, but it's also like, that means, am I willing to accept that I'm wrong? Or it could be wrong. Can I take the hit if I stand firm on a point and I really am really like, oh man, this is so right, and then find out I'm wrong, and be able to sit there and take that hit and go, whew, damn, and then not have it affect the way I feel about myself.
This is power.
Exactly. Because if I can make a mistake and it doesn't actually diminish my sense of my self-worth, I have a tendency to own my mistakes all the time and be forthcoming when I'm not doing the right thing, because it's not hurting my sense of self.
Yes. And what I'm noticing, what you're saying is that you're taking responsibility for your feelings, responsibility for your authenticity, and now your self-love and self-worth is based on your humanity rather than self-esteem, which is, am I a good dad or a bad dad? Was I a good son or a bad son? A good brother or not?
Yeah.
And so that's where the suffering is in self-esteem. In my experience, the suffering is in all in what? Self-esteem is a comparison.
Yeah.
And am I intelligent or am I not? Rather than...
Yes.
And whereas the self-worth is, I'm just a dude. I'm doing the best I can. And my tools can be sharpened. So when I see the past self, it's, yes, everybody's doing the best they can. But I like to expand on that and say the best they can with the tools they have. And sometimes tools get rusty.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes we don't have the right tool and we need a new tool. And we can even have the right tool and not know how to use it.
And we can even have the right tool working on the wrong job.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways. I love that you said it like that too, because it's that whole thing is that it. And I feel like we have to say it just, at least because I am a man, so I can't really speak to anybody else's experience. But when it comes to self-worth, the time that I've grown up in, the experiences that I've had, we've taught a lot of men in this country that their worth is tied to their ability to provide.
Oh, yes.
And their ability to not only provide security, to provide the stability, provide.
Yes.
And anything short of your ability to provide makes you and see, it's funny, we see it unworthy, but when we're kids, we learn that means we're unlovable.
Yes.
So any failure to be able to meet that standard, it equates to I have nothing. I bring nothing to the table. Why do you like me? Why do you love me? So now I'm constantly fighting to keep this thing that I so desperately need, this love.
Yeah.
And every moment where I feel like I fall short, I'm scrambling. Every mistake, every mispromotion, every slight from my partner, whatever it is, even if I'm not a good partner, anything that I perceive is just tattering this sense that I'm not lovable. And it turns into this really just nasty thing of, now I'm defending this little part of me that was hurt so long ago, that was never given the right information. That's how I like to put it at too. Because some people are like, well, I wasn't hurt. And I'm like, I just think you were given shitty information. Like, I don't think you don't want to say trauma. That's fine with me. But how about this? You were given really bad data.
I agree. And you were saying earlier, where did these beliefs come from? These core beliefs? And those core beliefs are bad data.
Yeah, that's all it is, man.
Yeah. My worth isn't defined upon my success or accomplishments or how much money I make But
we have to change that, because you and I can say that. I can say that to somebody all day, because I'd be like, look, I see your worth as this. But if somebody has that held belief of like, my worth is completely tied to this, and this, and that has been impressed upon generation after generation to this is what it actually means.
Yeah.
And then have people tell me, well, I love you anyway, but our human, the very core, I don't think I'm worthy of it.
Yeah.
And then have somebody be like, hey, this is how we have to separate those things. I mean, I say these things and I still have to fight this natural, like, to not celebrate anything, because it's never good enough. I'll give you this one. You'll laugh at it. I just talked to my therapist about this. Your therapist, I'm going to tell you anyway. I have, since I got sober, I stopped drinking September 12th, 2018, and started on this new life adventure, right? Okay, so just doing, I'm not trying to I'm just start doing things. So I start doing the school stuff, and I just don't stop. Now, not something I had planned on doing. I planned on just getting the thing and finishing it, but I'm like, fuck it, I'm getting money. I'm having fun. It's not as crazy as I thought. I'm actually really enjoying myself. So I go through. So I get my AA at City College, and I applied it at the San Diego State. And I'm like, not under the impression that I'll be able to go. I just was like, if I go, I go. If not, I'll just go to like National or something. And I get into San Diego State, and immediately I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And my wife's like, oh, wow, like, congratulations. I'm like, whatever, dude, everybody goes. Like, literally just diminished it immediately. Like, no, everybody gets to go. Well, I found out that's not true, but still, I'm like, nah, I'm not celebrating shit. I don't fucking tell anybody. I can tell her. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's good. I graduated this last 3 weeks ago with my bachelor's. Finished at SDSU. I did not want to walk because I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this. Except I have to because my son graduates this year, and he's just like me, and he's like, I don't want to walk in mine, and I'm like, oh, god damn it. So to make sure I set a good example, I got to walk in this stupid graduation. I was so mad. So here I am, fucking, 47 years old. I'm in my cap and gown and all this stuff. And it was a long day. My wife graduated got her master's the same day. So we're doing all this stuff. I'm so stoked for her. She's fucking beaming. This is awesome. It was a long 2 years. That's why I was working at Shoreline, because she was doing her practicum. So she had less time at work. So I was working at Pathfinders, working at Shoreline, and going to SDSU.
Dang.
And so, yeah, it was a lot. We get done, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like, it's not like, I don't have this like sense of like, woo, like, fuck
Right,
yeah.
right.
I don't really care. Like, I'm not really telling anybody.
Yeah.
The only reason our friends know about it is because my wife and I are we graduated at the same time. Her posts are aggrandizing both of us, like, and stuff like, so
Yeah.
I'm right there with her, immediately just like pushing her to the forefront. Because I'm like, that's a way bigger accomplishment. This is huge. Like, and I cannot, like, people are like, congratulations. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's all good. Like, I won't take it. Yeah. And it's a lot to do with like, I'm worried that, like, I still have this thing is like, don't get too up on yourself, because you're just get lost in your achievement, which which is hilarious. I've never done that ever in my life. I've never gotten like, so like, I'm the best.
Yeah.
I have always been like chasing, like, I'm fucking never good enough. I've never just like rested on my laurels ever. Yeah. But I'm so worried that if I do it, then I'm going to be just like, look at me. Like, that's just so just like ingrained in me.
Yep.
Even to this day. And like, I tell people all the time, I don't really care what anybody, like, at this point in my life, somebody else's judgment of me it only has power if I give it.
That's right.
So if somebody doesn't like me, that's fair, man. I'm abrasive sometimes. I can be very like difficult to be around. I can be aggressive. I can be a dick. Yeah, I mean, we never did a group together, huh?
No.
No, I don't know if you heard. Like, I have a very different way about me.
But a few minutes, I'd sit in on your groups. Just, I wish I could have. Yeah. Because I enjoy it.
Yeah. So, but my tact comes from more of a, like, I'm not, like, where I appreciate, this is why I like working at Shoreline so much. I got to see like that other way to be, other than this hard nose, like, you're at the bottom of the, like, when guys come to see me, I'm like at the last rung before it's really, really, really like bad. Yeah. So I adopted this, like, I don't have a whole lot of time here. Like, I'm going to be very direct, and I'm going to come right at you, and I'm going to demonstrate secure. Yeah. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge you at every step of the way, but I'm never going to leave you. Like, I'm going to be right there. Yeah. But that also comes with me not, like, there come times where I may not be the most therapeutic in a situation, and it's like some of the other therapists got a little uncomfortable, but I'm like, I'm not, like, it's okay if the guys don't like me. Like, I want them to experience, like, tell me. Yeah. Because what you're going to find out is if you don't like me and you have a problem with me, I'm going to listen to you. I want you to tell me what you don't like. I'm going to give you a platform. Yeah. Not only am I going to give you a platform, I'm going to validate you. Yeah. And I want you to experience that. And I'm not doing that like so cognitively, but I am ready for that discussion. Yes. Challenge me, please. It's how I learn.
I agree.
It's how I learn my boundary. It's how I learn what your boundaries are. Also, It learns that you have a voice. Yes. And you have every right to it. You have a right to not like me. Yeah. You have a right to be mad at me. You have a right not to be grateful. You don't have to be grateful just because you're getting help. You don't have to. I don't expect you to say sorry to me. I don't expect you to thank me. You don't have to do any of that shit.
Yeah.
Unless you feel like gratitude is, to me, gratitude is not something you fake. Gratitude is a state of being.
Yes.
You won't even have to concentrate on being grateful. Your actions will demonstrate it. So stop trying to fucking be grateful when you're not.
Yeah. It's okay to be angry.
It's okay to be mad. In fact, let's stop pretending like that's not the best way to find out what's really going on.
Yeah. And I find through conflict comes peace building. Rather, peacemakers are, oh, no, it's okay.
And we can't avoid conflict. We have to be able to get through it.
Yes. And through conflict, after the conflict, I find more peace.
Only if everybody's trying to take what we did and not like, that's what I tell these, like relapse. There's always been that thing. It's like relapse is one of the most amazing teaching moments ever. I don't want people to relapse, but if they do, I hope they do it in my program, because right there in that moment, instead of chastising and doing anything else, we have a moment where we can get in some real time teaching.
Yes.
And being like, hey, let's get into this. Let's break this down. Let's connect to this right moment. And like, without the shame too, because like what I'm not even mad. I don't care.
Yeah, that's
you're
not me.
You're okay.
Yeah.
Right? You're good. Okay, so let's break. And I have guys. It's always so funny because it's just this sense of, like, oh no, I have to be. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? So these guys come in and they used to get real. I used to do this in a really harsh way. But I used to tell the guys when they came in, I'm like, I got to tell you guys, like when you come in, and I was just kind of one of the big things I would tell some of the newer guys when they would get through the door is that, because they would always, a lot of lip service, like, oh, I'm doing this. And I said, I got to tell you guys, your word doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
And, and then I would be like, and if you're here, your hustle fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like survival hustle going on. And like just, I'm not trying to be mean, but let's just get down to it. Like
Agreed.
If you had any more moves, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Your hustle you're not on top of your shit anymore. And it's okay, guys, the shit falls, but I'm going to say it in a way that's going to try to like shock you.
Yeah.
But after a while, I basically tell guys, I said, you know what, guys, my expectation, because now when I address the house, a lot of times I do it in more of like kind of an informal group setting and trying to just talk to the guys. I said, I don't want anybody to I'm going to tell you this, and I want you to really hear what I'm saying. My expectation of you when you get here is I expect you to lie to me. I expect you to withhold information. I expect you to manipulate. I expect you to try to break the rules. I expect you to try to figure out, all these things. I expect you to pretend that you're doing something. I expect you to memorize a few buzzwords and try to pass that off. Like I just run down this list of all these things. And I said, the reason I expect you to do that is because those are things you would do to survive.
That's right.
And I think you're in survival mode. In fact, I know you are. And I know for a fact you're not going to learn anything new if you're in survival mode.
That's right.
So welcome home. The priority one here is I want you to feel safe.
Yes.
And the moment that you don't feel safe, I need you to tell me. I don't care what it is. Tell me. And the goal here, gentlemen, and it's just the goal here is to see if I can get you, like we can help make it safe enough for you to come out of fight or flight.
Yes.
And start to get into that mode where you can start connecting to something new. Because until we're there, you're not going to be able to connect.
Agreed.
You're just not. And I can't do that by keeping you in fight or flight. I have to give you grace.
Yeah.
I have to help. I have to tell you, and I believe this. My priority one is your safety. My priority one is not trying to get you to fucking do the 12 steps or anything. Is your safety.
Yeah.
You have been unsafe. You are now safe here. Because the only way that you'll actually experience safe emotion is feeling safe. And we need to do that.
Yes.
Because the moment you walk out this door, you know how to survive. You'll shut it all off. You'll get away from the pain. And then we'll be right back in this because if we get down to it, has the substance ever really not worked to do exactly what you wanted it to do?
Right.
And if it's doing what it's supposed to do every time, is it really some evil thing trying to hurt you, or is it actually the one thing your body knows how to, your mind knows how to do to help you?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then it's really not a bad thing, is it?
It's a
actually
tool.
trying to help.
Yeah.
So why am I spending a lot of time demonizing a part of me that's trying to take me out of pain?
Right.
Oh no, maybe I've been fighting the wrong thing.
Yeah. And like, while we were talking off video earlier, I liked how you were talking about the difference between treating a symptom and treating the root cause. And that's really where it's at is the alcohol or whatever other drug is the tool to what? Suppress the feelings, to suppress the pain.
As far as I'm concerned, it's the map.
Yeah.
It's the map. And that's why the relapse, learning from a relapse is, or even learning, somebody doesn't even have to relapse. I try to get guys when they're, so I work specifically with a couple clients, but I'm the manager, so I'm all 13 guys have access to me. And I tell them, I said, if you're having cravings or anything, you got to get to get to staff. We'll just talk to you. And every time a guy comes to me, they're like, I'm just going through it right now. They're really anxious, like this crazy amount of anxiety. And I'm like, all right, okay, we weren't there a little while ago. So it's like, it's all good. We try to get them kind of, just take your time. Let's get regulated, hold some space. And it's like, okay, so, because the first thing they're doing is, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why this is happening. And I was like, I know you don't know why, but I think we should figure it out. And so start running back, like, hey, what was going on? What was going on? And it's like you said, to that being curious. I was like, hey, I just want to know what happened here. Well, oh, who are you talking to on the phone? Oh, okay. Yeah. And then just do this, that's really all I do. I just want to figure out where you weren't feeling this way at this moment. And then between this moment and the moment you're now sitting in front of me, just walk me through what was going on.
Yeah.
And then if it's not there, can we go back a day, like last night? What happened last night?
That's right.
And I have the benefit of my staff is so good at like reporting like all the activities and kind of little interactions and stuff. So when I'm sitting with somebody, I know that I'm going to be going back at least 2 days because there was things that happened 2 days ago that I think are my guess is are leading to the situation I'm in front of me. He doesn't know that, but we're going to walk back. We're not going to jump back 2 days. We're going to walk back step by step until we get there and take that time until he can connect it. And I'll do it over and over again. And I said, and then draw the simple conclusion. Did you notice that this happened? This desire to use, this craving, this insane craving is coming up because you are in a moment right now where it is really unbearable to be sitting with this situation. That your current sober state is unbearable. And the desire to escape that or do the one thing you know how to do to take you out of this state you don't think you can get through is to use. Yeah. Does that sound like it's out of the blue? Does that sound like there's some mystery going on? Or does that sound like there's like we should follow this train to figure out why is my one go-to rescue button, why is that thing popping up right now? It's not broken. Right. It's not broken. My instincts aren't broken. My instincts are telling me something's wrong. I'm uncomfortable with you. That's probably because something's getting too close. Yes. It's not because I'm in danger, but my body thinks I am. My mind thinks I am. Yes. And I might tell you all day long, you're not in danger, but if this doesn't think so, it don't matter.
That's right. There isn't the bear, the lion, or a tiger, but now my brain says that you're the tiger. Why? Because you're digging.
You've gotten close enough to the spot that hurts.
That's right.
And now I'm going to be uncomfortable.
That's
and now I'm going to be angry. And that's the other thing is like, it doesn't just show up in anxiety, gents. When you get mad, that's why the anger's so good. Yeah. In that respect, one guy told me, he goes, why is it that you always get like really fired up and like happy after somebody has like a really like intense, like almost like temper tantrum? And I was like, it's because they're present, man. We're there, dude. We're there. That's in the moment anger. Yeah. And it might not be because of the moment in front of us, but damn it, dude, there's the door. Yeah. There it is. Like, why are you okay? Why is this upsetting? Like, let's get there. Exactly. And I tell my guys, I was like, I couldn't do that early on because I would react to the anger of the other person as a counselor. Because I'm still in fight or flight. So anger from somebody else tells me I need to be on my defensive. And so I would have trouble sometimes when guys were expressing this kind of irrational, what I think would be irrational moment anger, where I'm tense and I'm not even thinking to be curious. I'm like, how do I shut this down, right? Yeah. And instead of sitting there and just being like, go ahead, like explore the space with this. It's okay, get it. Like, tell me why you're frustrated. Tell me all these things. Wait, ask it. Hey, can I ask you? I'm good. Are you okay? Can I ask you a couple clarifying questions? Getting them to, because if I'm not elevated, eventually they won't be.
That's right.
And all I have to do is just not get elevated.
Yes.
And be patient.
Yeah.
I can't respond even if I think I'm being baited, but I'm also not going to back off. I'm just going to wait.
Yes.
And continue to wait and do the best that I can not to allow that their defensive reaction that's being tripped by me.
Yeah.
I tripped it. I may not have known it was there. I didn't mean to, but I did trip it. So I can't keep going to make it worse. I need to stop. I have an opportunity to model a good repair,
Yes.
especially if I made a mistake.
Yes.
So I'm looking for that. Like I'm looking to be a good example for a repair. If I stumble into a situation where I'm like, oh, I may have made a mistake here. Okay, well, here's another great teaching moment, and it's going to be me modeling how to own my mistake, giving someone who has historically not had a platform to be validated.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure that they're there. You have every right to be pissed right now. Even if it's coming from a biased perspective, I get why you're mad. If I saw things the way you just explained them to me, I would be very upset too. That's totally legit. Are you open to talk about the other possible aspects to what was going on? Are you open to me trying to like make this better, like repair what happened here? Are you even up for this stuff? If you're not, I'll wait. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know, man. Okay, hey, it's all good.
Yeah.
You come see me whenever. I'm available. I do want to do that. If you want me to repair in front of, I had a guy because I jumped on a guy in a group because he was being very passive aggressive and it was kind of starting something with somebody who was going through it and got defensive. I probably shouldn't have. I know I shouldn't have. I should have pulled him aside and I didn't. I kind of got him in the group and I could tell he was really just like because I embarrassed him and he was just kind of like he was angry. And so I was like, okay. And I pulled him aside after that and I said, hey, look, I should not have done that. I didn't even go into what we were talking about. It's like, I should not have done that. You didn't, I should have pulled you aside and talked to you privately. I should not have done that. That was a big mistake. You didn't deserve that no matter what I thought you were doing. Kind of doing that thing. And I was like, and if you would want me to, you would like, I would like to, I'll repair that in front of the group too. I'll own that in front of the group.
Yeah.
And he was still really upset. And he's like, I just need to go walk. And he was like just very angry. He's almost like in tears. And so let him walk and everything like that. And he came back to my office probably like an hour later. And I just let him, he goes, man, I was just really embarrassed. And it was like, I shouldn't have been, like, he kind of owned the little piece where he was trying to bait somebody. And I said, it doesn't, hey, I appreciate that. But I was like, bottom line was like, I shouldn't have done what I did right in front of it there. You did not, and I kept reinforcing that. I was like, you didn't deserve that, man. And I'm just like doing, and I want you to understand, like, I don't expect you to say, oh, it's okay or anything like that. I just want you to know that wasn't appropriate. How we move forward is up to you. I'm not going to treat you any differently. And it was that kind of thing is like, you're not in trouble.
Yeah.
I'm not going to not talk to you. I'm not going to not help you. And again, is that kind of thing is like, if you need more or you want some deeper, let's please, this is an open forum.
Yeah.
I will not tell you to get over it. I will not tell you that that's not a big deal. And, those things, I won't even let you believe it's not a big deal. In fact, if anything, you're going to find out that it really matters how you react.
Yes.
And it matters here. I get to leave here. I get to leave here and go practice this shit at home and try to do these things. You're here. So when you leave here, I want you to have the experience to know that you can get through shit like this without getting upset enough to believe that you have no other options or that believe that people are just out to get you and all these things. And I know that's hard because you've never experienced that before. So please get mad, get upset, get angry, call us out. Call us out at every turn, please. And I can't stress this enough for all of us. Mm-hmm. If you're a professional and you can't stand being called out by one of your clients because how dare they? Because they don't have your experience. I would say, what is so bad about your experience that you can't artfully handle criticism from someone who's upset to the point of not taking it so personally that you shut them off.
Yeah.
Especially in addiction. The worst thing that we can ever do to somebody who's experiencing addiction is shut them off.
Yes. My worth isn't based in my authority.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's based in my humanity.
That's right.
And if we start doing that, that's what I try to, I mean, I'm not better. I mean, just try to just help people do. The only thing I can never really tell anybody that I try to do is just try to be the best human when I'm hanging out with them.
Yeah.
And I struggle at that, dude. My humanity's all over the place, man.
That's what I love about you.
Yeah, but it's just like, that's the battle though, dude, because that's what, I'm not better at this.
Yeah.
I work at it, but that's because my wife is like, if I wasn't married to the woman I'm married to, I don't know that I would try as hard as I do, because nobody else would call it out like she does. Nobody else is willing to like fight with me about it or push me to it.
So she probably holds you to a standard of authenticity.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And that's something that's kind of crazy, because here I am thinking I have to be all these things, and all she's doing is pushing me to be authentic. That means she knows my the little things, and she picks up on them, and she won't let me get too far away. I can man it up and be like, I'm fine, and all this other stuff, or I won't say anything, and she'll just wait. She just waits me out. And I know she's doing it.
That's cool.
And then it's like, fuck, I'm gonna have to say something. Like, we're gonna have to do this. And over the years, it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
But, bro,
it's hard work.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
The best thing we ever did, though, I swear by this. Before we were getting married, and this was just like kind of this. There was nothing really going on. It was like we're noticing that we had trouble communicating. Both just old wound people, just old wounding at each other left and right. Just like, she's tripping mine, I'm tripping hers. And then we're both like, I'm not your ex. This whole thing's going on. Yeah. And we're stumbling into these automatic responses. We're both neurospicy as hell. So we're trying to figure it out. And she calls me one day and she's like, would you be open to going to couples counseling?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even hesitate. Absolutely. Let's go. Best thing we ever did, because here now our awesome therapist that got us was like, she got the total winning team. You got two people in the field that want to be good at this. That's like, right. As your clients, we're like, all right, we're into let's do this. You know, we're so each other's like best friend and everything. Like, we're not experiencing like an infidelity thing. We're just in here like, we want to be so much better at communicating.
Yes.
So it was like, kind of joked with her because she was doing that was her practicum. And I'm like, you're killing it. Like, at the end of stuff, she would be videoing and I was like, you slayed it. And she was just so good. She was just killing it. I'm like, oh, that was so good. I'm taking that to work with me. But then we learned this thing about just like, how do we communicate and how to allow each other to give space.
Yes. And
then that's like, kind of like, that's part of the reason that my whole perspective on dealing with people shifted in these little steps, from this about being a good counselor or being that to being just a good human for somebody else so they can get better on their own, because that's what it is.
Yeah. I just pop it in my brain. I love it. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Letting clients feel safe. Mm-hmm. So safety, when I feel safe, I have the space, the time to give them, to hold that space, to hold their discomfort, their anger, their feelings.
Yes.
And out of the safety, the space, then maybe I can experience grace.
Yes, because that's where it is. That's that moment where you connect with yourself and then you're able to give yourself a pass.
Yeah.
And when I say pass, like, people sometimes are like, well, no, it's not. A pass isn't me not taking accountability for anything. A pass is me telling myself that I was human and I fucked up, and I can own that, and I can own that with my head up.
That's right.
I don't have to look at the ground, because I want you to be able to forgive me if I've hurt you. Also, I understand if you can't. Now, but the reality of it is, once I'm offering and trying to do what I can to make it better, the ball now, whether you forgive me or not, is up to you, not me.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, because as much as I would like there to be repair, I get why because as somebody that does not have repair with certain people and does not seek it,
Right.
I get it. I get it. It's hard to do. And I, and I'm not even somebody that's like, I hope, but one day you'll forget. Hey, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I will never shut the door on you if you come back and talk to me or whatever like that. But I'm also not going to be sitting here and trying to tell you that you need to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that too, because for me, that brings up what I like to share. And I had to learn too in my own suffering and shame and guilt is that my feelings are my responsibility and your feelings, their feelings are their responsibility, not mine. That's why I can't rescue anyone. Their feelings are their responsibility.
Yeah.
I can try and repair the relationship, but I don't want to feel guilty or shameful. Why? Because now I gave them the ball. I said I was sorry. And now the ball's in their court. Their feelings are their responsibility.
Exactly. And that's the thing is that, and there's a lot of awesome in that. And that's what I always tell people is like, so now that the client, like if my clients are upset and all this stuff and their choices and all these things, they're like, yeah, I'm an empath and I would love to not see them being harmed. I say the same thing about my kids. It's like, but I also what I love about my kids is that we've given them enough space to be the people that they are without putting our kind of inflection upon it. And what we have some pretty darn well-rounded, smart, doing their own thing kids that are going to be pretty badass fucking adults. And they're going to be way better than I am, which is the goal. And I'm always really careful. I'm trying to not impart some of my kind of fucked up knowledge on people. I'm like, hey, you guys make decisions. The only thing I want you to do is question it all.
Yeah.
And but the same thing with these guys. It was like, and once you're in that mode right there, where can you forgive or not forgive? The only thing I'm going to give you is space, but I'm never going to abandon you because you already think everybody's going to abandon you anyway.
And those are two very different things.
But that's the problem is, most guys don't see it that way. You challenge me, you're going to leave me, you're going to abandon me. You know this. We get to this attachment shit. We go back to that basic attachment stuff. And the point is modeling the difference between that. If somebody's coming to me for help and I shut them out or I tell them they're not trying hard enough or do whatever it is, then I'm doing the same thing that they expect me to do, that they've always had done.
Yeah.
And so like when we have guys that are behavioral issues or we have guys that just can't stay in our structure, I say this a lot. I say the only time a man gets put on the street out of the program I'm at is because they do it to themselves. When I say that, that means they did something violent or they leave on their own. Even if they were a behavioral problem, even if we have to move them out of program, we will do everything in our power to drive you to the next safe spot. So that means, short of a few things that we really can't look past, like which would be violence and stuff like that, I'm going to do whatever I can while you're within our care to get you to someplace safe, regardless if it's here or the next thing. But what I'm not going to do is put you on the street. I'm not going to tell you that you can't be here. I'm going to tell you that we need to get you to a place that's better suited to help you. And then I'm going to do everything in my power to get you there. And that's all I can promise. And that's all we're going to do. That's at the base minimum. That's how we take care of people. My goal in this system is to get you prepped and ready to get to the next safe thing. And that means in my world that we're going to take you to the next safe thing. And hopefully give you enough tools so you can start continuing to thrive in that setting, whatever that is. But what I'm not going to do is when you fuck up, I'm not going to put you on the curb. We're not doing that. We're not in that game anymore.
That's right.
And I have to, that's a hard one you have to explain to some people.
Yeah. Because that's new.
But I look at it very simple when people are like, well, sometimes you got to tough love them. And I said, okay, so here's the deal. Are you okay with reacting and putting somebody on the street and knowing in this day of fentanyl and all these other things that you could have possibly put them in a situation to die almost immediately?
Right.
And you're willing to tell me that that behavior was so warranted that a possibility of death is a okay consequence?
Right.
To the best of my ability, I'm going to make sure that's not one of the options.
Agreed.
At all costs. And I will keep people from dying long enough until they can get it. I don't care how many Narcans. I don't care how much harm reduction. I don't give a fuck. Until death is not oh, well, they didn't get it. I'm not okay with that. I don't accept that. I don't accept that people are taking their life in their hands, so we're just going to let them die. That's bullshit. Because it's not because they love drugs so much.
That's right.
It's not because they love to party so much. It's not because they're selfish or immoral. It's because they need help.
Yes. They're lost and don't know how to love themselves.
Oh yeah. And that's the sad part. That's why the battle is always so fraught with, there's so many conflicting views on how to, and the funny part is like how to save people.
Yeah.
And it's like, at the base level, if all we are doing, if the only thing we do is just try to help them for one moment, like just stay safe.
Yeah.
Then if that's the only thing we're doing, we're killing it.
Yeah. I think we're in the business of teaching people about love.
I agree.
And once they know love can be safe, then it's okay for them to love themselves.
And you got to realize, man, some of these people have no idea what that looks like.
No. And like you said, the core belief is I have to be worthy of love or I have to perform for love. And so,
That's what I asked people when I said, do you know what this looks like?
right.
So when we do that one visualization thing that we would do with guys and be like, hey, visualize yourself 6 months into a relapse, visualize 6 months. So the funniest part about that is, and I would take this and I say, for some of you, when I say vision 6 months without of a relapse, what you're going to give me is not even close to what actually would happen. And they're like, what are you talking about? I said, because everything you visualize, you've never experienced. So you actually have no idea what it actually looks like. So what you're visualizing is something that is not in existence. It's not even possibly a reality. It's just what you perceive this life to look like. So when I tell you you're going to live life differently sober, what I failed to tell you is that you have no idea what that'll look like. And it's not because you just don't get it. It's because if you've never experienced it, why would you know what it looks like? No matter what I tell you until I show you. And that's the thing where I think a lot of people, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face what secure attachment looks like. I can fucking do diagrams. I can do funny little TikToks. I can tell you what it all looks like. Until you experience it, you have no fucking idea what it looks like. Because that attachment style isn't that conscious thing that you're making that decision on. If you don't experience secure attachment, how are you supposed to learn what secure attachment looks like?
Yes.
And that's
we'll have to talk again.
yeah.
No, but that's the root of healing for me is through, we have reprogrammed the brain through what? New experiences, novel, new experiences. So we have to reprogram the brain through experience. And what does experience do? It tells us an emotion, a feeling. So we have to reprogram the brain through new feelings, through new experiences.
But that starts with more than just the base knowledge of how it's supposed to work.
That's right.
I can tell you how things are supposed to work all day long. I don't know. Like I get the cognitive functions for visualizing safe places and all that shit.
Yeah.
I'm not a very visual person. So if I can tell you why it works, it does not mean I know what it feels like for you to do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm really upfront with people like that. Like, hey, when it comes to visualizing things or you hear about mindfulness meditation, I can tell you why I know it works for a lot of different people, but my experience is going to be way different than possibly yours.
Yeah.
And until you experience it and the benefit from it, me just telling you to be mindful isn't really helpful.
No.
Or me just telling you to be grateful.
I'm not into just talk therapy. I'm into do therapy.
Yeah. So that was they always tell people, they're like, you got to be grateful. That's where I got into that whole thing. It was like, I tell my guys all the time, I said, don't ever let anybody tell you have to be anything, because you will be that when you experience it.
Correct.
And so to experience it, we have to be open to new things. And when somebody tells me I have to be a certain way, that's not making me open to new things. It immediately shuts me off because it's unknown and it's foreign. And so that's why I think it's really important for helpers to model what we can.
Agreed.
And if we don't know what we're doing, if we lack in that department, we learn how to do it. And the best people I think sometimes to learn from are the clients. But also it's dynamic peers. Dynamic peers. That's the one thing I loved about supervision. I learned from every moment in supervision. I loved it. I think we had a good group of people. Really, I go back to Mike being so good at what he does. Yeah, right. Like I would go, bro. I could have probably not gone to those supervisions because it wasn't really benefiting. Like Like I didn't need it wasn't the first, I just worked there and I had to haul ass earlier to get there for those things. But I wanted to be at every single one of those because I just want to hear Mike break it down.
Super smart.
Yeah. But just that way, that certain like way to kind of get at a client, the root of what's going on.
Yeah.
He was the first person that I ever heard say, I want the guy to get mad.
Yeah.
And when he said it, it took me a minute. I'm like, wow, what? And then he was saying, he goes, I want him to experience that feeling. And it made so much sense when he said it. I was like, I just like adopted that like next day.
Yes.
Like this is just not what loving to see the emotional response. And it was him saying it that made it click for me.
Yeah. He introduced me to psychodynamic therapy.
Yeah.
And in that, we want the client to get angry.
Yeah.
Because not always, but sometimes anger is a mask for sadness, or sadness is a mask for anger.
It's getting to that why it's there.
And I want them to get emotional, because once we get emotional, then where does that come from? Where's the root experience?
It's like Gabriel, I do one of the many Gabriel Mate videos that out there. Or
Oh, dude,
one of
he's
the things
so
he said, and I say it all the time. He said, "What is anger? Anger is a defense response to a boundary transgression."
That's right.
And when he said that, I was like, there isn't one time I can't think of an anger response that isn't from some sort of line being crossed with me.
Yes.
Or somebody trying to take something from me, or a perception of it being taken.
Yes.
So if my anger is always a defense, which it is, like I don't really get angry as an offense. Like I get angry as defensive. What is it defending?
Right.
And if I don't know, I should probably find out.
Correct.
So people don't accidentally trip that.
Yes.
Because I think it's not, I now know it's not fair for me to have invisible lines drawn in the sand.
Yes. Anger is definitely, it's a biological reaction for safety. Mm-hmm. So some boundary was crossed and I need to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm going to defend myself.
that's right.
So, oh God, now that anger is not just this random kind of emotion, it's this thing that is actually being spurred out of a defense of myself, and that it causes this, and this, and this is why I'm doing it. I might not be able to do it right away, but as soon as I'm out of my fight or flight in my initial defense reaction, I should try to ask myself why that happened.
Agreed.
Why am I angry right now?
And that's why I do my best. I'm not perfect, but I do my best to not make any decisions when I'm emotional.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things we try to teach people a lot of time too, is like take a breathe, just one pause. And I tell the guys a lot, because I said, let's just do the science here. If you want to, it's not just like a thing. If I take a moment to breathe when I'm angry, my breath tends to regulate my nervous system.
That's right.
Which allows my parasympathetic hopefully to kick in, which reverts my energy in this bad boy from my primal defenses and lets my higher reasoning come back online.
That's right.
And if I'm going to solve problems, I need my higher reasoning. And I know it's not online when I'm in defense mode.
That's right.
Because I don't need that critical thought while I'm in defense mode. I need defense.
That's right.
So I need the best weapon I have online for me to figure this out. So I got to let myself come out of that.
Yeah.
The best way I can, which is usually just take a minute.
Agreed.
And then let's take a look at it with all of my resources.
Yes.
Not just my defensive ones. So survival, guys, it's like when I say, as soon as we can get some space away from survival mode, we're going to activate something that you haven't been using a whole lot of because you've been in defense mode. And that thing right there is where we need to be doing this.
That's right.
You know?
Well, right on, Zach. Well,
I know that we went way,
it's
man.
great. Dude, we could keep talking.
I'll do it all day long. Yeah.
Dude.
Part 2 next time. Yeah.
Seriously. And I want to get into attachment specifically.
Yeah. Actually, that we could do. Yeah. Just let me know. I'm down because I got a whole thing on attachment.
Oh, because well, you have a tragically beautiful story.
I love that.
Yeah. I love a good,
Yeah. Well, also too for me, if we have because I can go all day up and down different topics. Well, you gotta sometimes you gotta hone me in.
No, this is great though because it's gives a big picture. And then people get to know you. Mm-hmm. And then the idea is really at the root of the tree. And when we look at those attachments and ruptured intimacy wounds, but it's nice to really just see, okay, what led to the alcohol? And then what's the pain? What are some of the defenses why can't I even get to what's beneath the surface? I have all these masks.
Yeah.
And so right now we're just sort of like
Yeah, it's just
on
what
the
it is.
surface.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
all, and that's what I tell everyone. Like even when I know when I'm digging, and that's part of my issue with treating symptoms, because my symptomatic responses when I'm in an addiction cycle are the problematic things I see before me, the things that other people can point out. Okay, great. Like I can try to mitigate some of the damage that's caused by those things, which I should. I'm going to have to. But what I'm not looking at is the substance of the response. I'm writing it off to an impulsivity issue.
Right.
Inability to handle my impulses. We even call it that shit. And that's where you said it's like you cannot you cannot force yourself to just be angry.
That's right.
You can't force yourself to just laugh and have like a spontaneous moment of laughter or joy. You can't. It just happens.
Yeah.
And if it just happens, that means I'm not trying to prevent it, because that's not going to happen. I have to be able to handle it when it does. What do I do after it happens? Because you're not going to be, hey, I say something to you and it crosses that invisible line. Your initial reaction isn't going to be one of like, pensive thought. It's going to be your defenses went online. Well, I'm not, and then I can't get upset at you. Hey, if that got tripped, I know I got something there. So this was expected.
That's right.
I expected this.
That's right.
Now that we've got the initial defense out of the way, let's dig into what I tripped.
Yes.
And let's find that. Instead of constantly just looking at people for these quick symptoms, this fast fix, here, I know the problem. The problem is that these substances are so evil, and let's not do, come on.
Right.
Come on.
We're too focused on behavior rather than on feeling.
And I'm sorry, like, I think everybody does stuff because they want to feel. They don't want to be in pain.
Yeah. And that's where I love Gabor's a video specifically on trauma and addiction. And he talks about authenticity and recovery.
It's a 9-minute little cartoon thing with him talking.
It's the nutshell.
It is probably one of the best descriptions, and it was so powerful because he talks about that moment because he did all that work with the heroin addicts.
Yeah,
and he talks about how, and I'm literally listening to these guys with fentanyl talk about, the first time I ever did fentanyl was it was a hug. It was this warm, like,
that's right.
And he likens that to he does that whole connection. There's an awesome talk that's on YouTube. It's Gabor Mate, Dick Schwartz, and Mark Lewis. And it's a guy moderating the three of them having this conversation about how the three things that they talk about were this really changing the way that we look at addiction and how we haven't been approaching it the right way, because the Schwartz, there's a whole IFS for addiction. And I've probably listened to that book like probably 5-6 times because of the narrative kind of like structure of how to look at the parts. What is the addictive cycle, and painting it in a way that makes so much sense that it's really hard to ignore. Yeah. That, this is one of my like protective parts doing its job. Yes. Oh God. And even my worst manager part is still doing a job that it's felt it needed to do for so long. And if I can conceptualize that enough to realize that why am I trying to treat all of this like it's a bad thing? Why am I trying to push out my humanity? Right. Why am I? Because I'm not good at being a part of society because I'm being human? I don't think that's the case. I think that this belief that it's so wrong to be human.
That's right. I'm breaking this down too in my book, The Science of Anxiety.
I love it.
And so, because it really goes from development, from infancy, the brain. So it ties in everything I've learned from Dr. Gabor, everything I've learned from Dr. Perry, and a few other doctors. And I'm breaking it down. How do I approach it in therapy? And in what leads to addiction or mental health. And I can break it all down.
Yeah. And I think like it was really powerful. Like, and I think this, in the grand world of changed views, if we stop looking at addictions as alcoholics and addicts, and we look at it as this experience that happens.
That's right.
This polarized, stuck in a cycle. We've made a huge mistake in making this an identity. Yeah. And we are so much more than that.
And I used to do
it's so reductive.
Identity versus authenticity.
Oh my God. You know, we
Oh.
do this, and fundamentally we do this. We're painting mental health, and especially with addiction, that we are just calling you like, hey, this is you. And I have been saying and I said, I got to tell you guys, addict, alcoholic, that's just what you did. That is not who you are.
Labels are considered a thought distortion. So that's
it is.
one thing that's tough for me.
But then it's like telling people, they're like, oh, you're telling people that, so they're not. No, what I'm telling you is because they are so much more than that.
Yeah.
And if we keep telling them they're not, then they will only... That's what they'll do. They'll stay there, or they won't. They'll just rebel. But what is so bad about telling somebody that is experiencing issues with alcohol or drugs or anything like that, telling them that this is not your fucking identity, that you don't have to call yourself, you don't have to say this.
That's right.
What you are is a human, and your identity has nothing to do with the shit you're doing, unless that is what you make it. The problem is, you're being told that's what you are. And who is anybody to tell you who the fuck you are?
Right.
Where are you getting that from? Like, good God. I mean, that's the thing, the struggle. Try to find my identity, and I'm sitting here looking for external validation for my identity.
Oh, God.
And the problem is that for so long, I will chase that external validation to validate who I am. And the reality is, I'm the only one that determines who I am.
That's right.
And I have to be okay with that. Am I somebody that's going to be like this or like that? That's up to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that, though, because nobody told me that.
Yeah.
They just told me, oh, this is what you are. I'm like, oh, man. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Because if you tell me what I am, I'm only limited by what your description of that should be.
Truth.
And I will only sit in that pocket, in that picture. And you can't reduce a person. You can't reduce a human to a label. If you do, you're trying to just minimize them.
Yeah.
And we're telling people that are trying to climb out of the deepest, darkest hole they've ever been in, hey, don't worry, you can only climb so fucking high.
Yeah.
Or I mean, it just intuitively doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's not right.
I have to, that's one of the things I have to unteach.
Yeah.
I also have to unteach validation.
Yeah. Like where it comes from.
Yeah. I have to unteach, and a lot of it comes from not only our parents, school.
Mm-hmm. School.
Are you an A student? Are you a B student?
Oh my God.
Are you a winner? Are you a loser? Sports.
But that's the thing is that, and those things exist, and it's kind of like people get really like defensive because that built their character or whatever.
Right.
I'm like, I don't like, if you benefited from it, good on you.
Yeah. I
am not talking to you.
Right. And honestly, I find it a very weak shield.
It is a weak shield, but that, you know what? I'm not. So the biggest thing that I see that's a struggle right now is because of the world and the format that everybody has. People that are trying to kind of come, and there's so many great insights about things, and then there's so many people that are that believe something so vehemently that nothing else can exist that's in contrast, and so they feel the need to attack, or they feel the need to invalidate. Because that, I said this to one guy. I said, you have to invalidate this, because I think if you validated it, it would call into question what you believe.
That's right.
And then that wouldn't resonate well with you.
Right.
So I'm not asking you to accept it. What I'm asking you to do is don't invalidate somebody else. You don't have to believe this. I'm not doing that. I'm not out here trying to dissuade you from your belief. Mm-hmm. For some people that are just like, this is the only way to do it. What I'm doing is I'm offering another perspective for people that don't agree with you or don't agree with your belief. And because they don't agree with your belief, I'm not sure why that affects you. Like, if somebody gets help, why do we care where the fucking help came from? Like, why do we care how they got there? And that's the thing that I think people, oh no, well, because you're hurting people. And it's like, okay, right now, the recidivism rate and the success rate for any kind of treatment or anybody, and it's all horrible science because it's really hard to fucking measure, like effectiveness and all these other things. It's not good no matter how we count it. It's just not. It's not a good number. It's a low fucking number. And I'm not okay with just saying, well, that's just the nature of this condition. That's not. It's not. It doesn't have to be. It really fucking doesn't. It doesn't have to be what it is. It's just that we're like, oh, this is such a huge damning thing that nobody wants to do it. It's like, well, if that's the case, then why wouldn't we just throw all these other options at the wall then? Why don't we actually give these other things precedent instead of trying to force the minimum effective way? Does the minimum effective way work? It does for those people that it works for. That's a really, really stupid thing to say, by the way. Like, hey, this is gonna be great. It works if you work it. So what you just said is people that do good in the program are gonna do good. No shit. What about the people that do bad?
Right.
Are they just not working hard enough? Now, come on. That is now those people aren't worth the opportunity for quality.
Yeah. As Obi-Wan Kenobi said, only the dark side deals in absolutes.
There's a big reason for that because, as you and I both know, that black and white thinking is a cognitive distortion.
That's right.
And yet we operate in extremes to fix things. We are out of whack when we are in an addictive cycle, responding in an extreme way. It doesn't make sense that the only way to fix it would be the complete opposite way because nobody lives completely opposite. Everybody lives in the middle, going back and forth just slightly. So instead of trying to keep things polarized, where it's really hard to live for a lot of people, why don't we just get back to the middle? Why don't we show people where the middle ground is? See, that's the thing when I do with defects. I got to go. But I stopped taking defects as defects. And I told him, I prefer, somebody called them like assets and liabilities. And I said, I just want you guys to look at it one way. These aren't separate entities. They exist in the same plane. So for example, the pride and humility thing, those are the opposite ends of the same plane. They don't exist separately from each other. They exist at extreme points of the same line. So most of us are somewhere in the middle of that line, going back and forth. Some days with humility, some days with pride. Some days we're way to the left, sometimes we're way to the right, but we're never usually totally encompassed on one end. So if they're on the same plane, they individually cannot be removed. They aren't something that is to be removed. They're just an existence on the same plane.
Yes.
They're not these like little like, oh, you were built this way. Okay, whatever. However, you can't get rid of it like that. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah. There's no destruction of the ego. We cannot destroy the ego.
Well, it's because I think everybody hijacked the term ego.
They don't even know what it means.
So when we say ego, what we tend to think is somebody who's really big about themselves, and it's a pride defense that's popping up, right?
My ego says to brush my teeth.
Your ego's the middle ground, dog. That's the whole.
right.
That's the way it was. I mean, we kind of forgot that because we're not talking about the id and the super ego.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the balance in between. The ego is the self.
Yeah.
But you remember, like, self is a bad word for a lot of people.
They're afraid of their authentic self.
But they don't even see that.
Yeah.
All they hear is you are selfish.
I love selfishness.
Yeah, but selfishness makes, like, if we take that whole connotation out, and I tell guys, I said, you know, the best way to help your family or help the people that you're telling me that you want to help, that you feel guilty about helping, you wait for it. Be the best version of yourself. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
If you're going to be the best version of yourself, you have to be selfish. That means you have to work on it. It's just like, come on, man.
Yeah, man.
Like, I had to talk with this guy. I said, dude, a lot of people like to help people. They really do. It like fills them up. For me, it fills me up. I love trying to help people. I get that. Does that make me like better than you? No, it's just something that like I'm into.
Yeah.
Because he's like, man, I know I should help people because that's a big tenet for the 12 staff. You got to help other guys. You got to hustle that. And he's like, man, but I'm trying to do all these other things. So he's really torn. Like, and the fact that he's trying to build it like his life back and all this stuff, he's like, he's feeling guilty that he doesn't think he's going to be helping people enough. So, and he's battling it. Yeah. And I'm like, look, man, let me give you another perspective. Okay. If you and I are helping people, that's what we're doing because we're in the thing and we're doing the 12 and we believe the believe, right? That's what we're doing, right? And I have 5 sponsees and you haven't got one yet, but we're still doing the same thing. And you're just kind of waiting for somebody to, you know, you're waiting to, who's more sober? I'm waiting. Like, and he's just like kind of laughs because he knows where I'm going with this. And it's like, now, if you're not working with a sponsee and you're not hustling a sponsee, are you failing? Like, what is wrong with organically allowing somebody to approach you at a meeting after they hear you share or they see you around and you got, and the help comes that way? Like, who's better at this? The guy that hustles for sponsees, the guy that is proselytizing the 12th step, or the person that's showing up to those meetings in a genuine way, like allowing the right situation for both them and the person to naturally form a relationship.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer in organic.
Yeah.
Because even in the setting like that, the authentic way to go about it would be to what you authentically believe about how this works.
Yeah.
And I've always joked, I said, the best con you can do to selfish people is you tell them they're so selfish that the only way that they can save themselves is they have to selflessly help somebody else, which creates this cycle. And I said, I thought that was great. We spend 160 pages telling you your self-will run riot and you're selfish. And then the 12th step is like, now you have to go give it away. You have to selflessly give away this sobriety that you're holding on too tight because you're so fucking selfish. And I was like, that's awesome, because now it's got them selfishly helping people.
Yeah.
Which is where authenticity goes out the window.
Yeah. I call that martyrdom codependency or stoic codependency or aesthetic codependency.
But you see how the authenticity, like that's the thing. I know a lot of people that sponsor people are really trying to help people. I really do. I'm not saying this. For people that are doing it for a self-serving need or doing it because that's the only way they can help and it comes across that way, or that's the authentic reason they're doing it. For somebody who's trying to get help, that becomes disingenuous. And I always say this to guys who says your sponsor always thank you, and they're like, yeah, all the time. And I said, that's because you're helping keep them sober. That's exactly what the instructions are. And you may not know that yet because you're not there yet, but that's exactly why they thank you. They're thanking you for keeping them sober. I've had numerous old timers when I was in AA, when I would share, and they would say, thanks a lot for keeping me sober. And it's me being a newcomer and them working with me or talking to me that's helping them to maintain sobriety. That's the thought process.
Yeah.
A lot of people like, I don't understand this, because the thought is they're helping me to help me. I think it's weird they're thanking me. I should be thanking them. And so it's a little bit of a kind of like, okay. So then it becomes, when you see somebody hustling for sponsees, what is your motivation?
Yeah.
I mean, I get why you would be doing it. It's okay if you're doing it trying to help yourself, but I don't feel like, for some people that becomes almost like dangerous.
Yes. And I've seen these dangers.
We can go into. We can have 2 more podcasts about all of
Yes.
that.
Well, thank you for coming, Zach. And,
Hey, I appreciate you, buddy.
yeah. For people in San Diego, what are some resources that we can think of for people who maybe are having an alcohol or addiction challenge, for them to reach out, or maybe they're afraid of asking for help because I'm a man, I need to see. Like
I think one of the things that I would encourage anybody to do, this is so hard. The first and foremost thing is, if you're in a position where you feel like you need to change your behavior a little bit, or you're not loving how substances are affecting you, or it's not, you're feeling like that draw away from your life, because there's so many different degrees of how this looks. I don't think people have to get to the place where we're still dealing with like the guys that I work with, myself, the place that I got to. That's not a necessary fall. It's not necessary for people to get help. The recognizing that this is a symptom, that my drug use or my drinking grows exponentially when I'm uncomfortable, or when I'm in pain, or when I'm in a series of things where my core beliefs are now really damaging me, or my experiences, traumatic experiences. Like, guys, COVID was a fucking really traumatic thing.
Yes.
And to have people to return to use during those times made a lot of sense. This was really hard. And it was like, oh, well, some people didn't do it and they did it. It's like, but it doesn't matter who did. You don't get to, again, we're not judging against other people. It's okay to struggle, man. This sucks. This is hard. Life is not fucking easy.
Life is hard.
Life is going to be hard. There's going to be challenges every day, and it's okay to not be able to, I hate saying it like this, but it's okay to not be okay.
That's right.
And it's okay to want to escape.
Yes.
It's also there's nothing, you're not broken, man. You're not broken when you try to survive. And while somebody else might look at your situation and say, you're not in survival because that's not that hard, fuck them. They're not you. If you're walking around and constantly thinking that you're going to be judged, or that somebody doesn't like you or love you, or you're gonna, this, or that you have a rational or irrational fear of the government, or whatever the fuck it is. You are in a state of fear and fight or flight. Just because I don't think you should be doesn't make that not true. And if you are doing that, if you are worried that your girlfriend or your spouse or your husband or whoever is cheating on you, you are in fight or flight. You're in this like defensive mode where insecurities and things and these things, like you'll look for all of it and you'll look to escape. And does it make sense? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And if I'm turning to substances to shut off all of those warning signs, and I'm doing it more and more, and I need help, that's the kind of people you should reach out for help for. There is a lot of counseling collectives. There's a lot of different ways to approach things these days.
Yeah.
I would always tell you, if you're like there is a 12-step meeting everywhere you go. There are the Dharma temples are great.
Right. Yeah.
I love doing that. That's one. It's tough if you're not prepared to do a lot of mindfulness stuff, but being able to kind of get it. And again, I would say that if you're not good at getting in touch with yourself, which I never have been, or I don't even know what that looks like, that's the kind of help I would seek. Like, how do I get in touch with me? You can, I would always say, call 211.
Yeah.
211 is where the resources are.
Right.
If you don't have insurance, there's always a Medi-Cal something or other. If you called my program, I'll tell you, even if we only take men, even if you're not a man, I'll tell you where to call, where to go.
Right.
If you're in acute need, go to the hospital. Go to the hospital. They have to do something.
Right.
But don't just leave when they tell you to leave. Like, ask for resources, ask for help. There's detoxes popping up all over the place now. The only thing I would tell you is don't let potential judgment from a resource be the only reason why you don't look for more help. You're not alone, even if you feel really alone.
Yeah.
You're not. And there will be somebody, I promise, there will be somebody that will let you know that. We will. There's so many resources. Walking in, I mean, that's the best part. Like calling 988, those resources that are there. Instead of dealing with the PERT team, there's the mobile crisis response team, which is all therapists that come out for things that are acute. Man, there's just a lot of people trying to. It's just really. It's hard when you don't know where to look.
Yeah.
And the shame.
Yeah.
And if you're somebody that comes across this kind of stuff and has somebody you're worried about, the only thing that I will ever tell you is there is not shutting somebody out is not enabling them. The worst thing you can ever fucking do is tell your loved one that you won't talk to them. And if you don't know how to talk with your loved one without feeling like you're enabling them, that's something you need to look into, because you don't have to co-sign their bullshit to not make them feel like they're alone. And they might not be happy that you're not giving them money and shit like that, but don't not pick up the fucking phone. Tough love doesn't work. Tough love is going to kill somebody. Yes. And it could kill that person, and I don't think you want to live with that. And if you feel like you need to cut people off so they can pull it up by the bootstraps, you're part of the fucking problem. I'm not telling you to go to Al-Anon or something like that, but the worst thing that you can ever do is make them feel like they're alone and isolated. Because what you just told them is that your problems are so much worse and I can't handle it. And because I can't handle it, I'm going to cut you out.
Yep.
And for somebody that already feels like they're not worth it, you just told them they aren't.
Yep.
I think especially if it's one of your kids or it's somebody you claim to care about, that you need to start demonstrating what unconditional looks like instead of transactional.
Yes.
Because if you only love me when I'm doing well, that's a transaction. That's not unconditional. And you might say, well, I love you, but I just can't watch this. But that's not what you said. You don't love me. Because I know that when you're not there, because that's what I learned when I was a kid, that I'm not loved. Mm-hmm. That's what my ingrained person from day one, your absence means no love. Because you were my world.
And there's the wound.
There it is. And that's not even a wound you knew what to do about, because we all just assumed the kids understand that mom and dad had to work. where mom and dad couldn't be there. But it's like, dude, you know what it's like to be a 5-year-old? You must have forgot. Because a 5-year-old doesn't have a fucking worldview other than the two people that is supposed to be caring for him.
Yeah.
And when the two people that are supposed to be caring for him aren't there, or they send them to their room, or they chastise them, or they do all those things, the only thing that 5-year-old got was my source of life. This is Gabriel Mate again. My source of life has been removed because of my behavior.
That's right.
So when I'm bad, I do not get love. Not no cookie.
Right.
That's what he says.
Right.
That is not because I didn't get the cookie. I get no love.
That's right.
And if we think about it, that's really fucking true. So it's not the answer to abandon people. Just confirming all the shit that they already believe.
Amen.
We'll get into that, man. I appreciate your time,
man.
man.
Thank you, man. Appreciate your time.